Evening, everyone. Calling for the flag of the United States, which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Here.
Yes.
Here. All right, at this time, I please have a motion to approve the vouchers for the year.
I've reviewed the vouchers, I'll make that motion, everything's.
I just had a question. I'll second that motion with discussion. I noticed the music on the grade performers were paid early. Are we actually allowed to do that?
In order to check until they actually.
Okay. So we're approving the expense, but we're not. Okay.
Check.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
May I please have a motion approving the minutes of 6/9/2025.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to introduce Mike Drew, who is with the Saranac Lake Lost Project. Hey, yeah, sure.
Yep.
Thanks so much for coming.
Sure. So again, my name's Mike Drew. I'm the new project superintendent at the Saranac Lake Lofts project, or the lofts at Saranac Lake, whichever way. So I reached out to your codes enforcement officer, the new one. We started just about the same time, so it worked out kind of good. We chatted a little bit. I took him through the project, and he had mentioned that you folks might be interested in, learning kind of where we're at. The project's been on hold for a little while. I was on the city council in Plattsburgh, and I know you can't go to the grocery store without people asking you stuff. So I thought, it's a good way to be a good neighbor and kind of answer any questions you have. So with that said, I don't know a lot about stuff that happened before me, and my expertise is in what we're doing with the building and not really any of the, who we rent to and things like that. So.
Mike, I think probably most folks are interested to know if you have a tentative completion date for the main housing.
Yeah, that looks like we're going to be pretty close to completion this summer. So we are in the middle of sheetrocking and taping. So finishes are getting ready to go in here in the middle of July. So we are going to be in pretty good shape, have the east side of that closed in here in the next week or so we can put down some binder coat on that parking lot and kind of get it settled again. As to the front lot, you'll see that getting filled back in. We are still working on brownfield remediation. So that stuff you see going in is to whole rigging to put in a shoring wall between the Broadway and our lot, so the road stays where it is.
Awesome.
Right.
Any update on that brownfield cleanup? I mean, once that shoring wall goes in, do you have an idea when that might be?
Yeah, so that's once that shoring wall's in, which is probably a couple-week project to get it in the ground, and I know they're still waiting on some permitting or something with DOT, so I'm not exactly sure, but they're getting close because we're getting ready to start it. I would anticipate a couple of weeks of that shoring wall going in. Once that wall's in, we can complete remediation on that site, and it's probably 90% done right now. We just couldn't go any closer to Broadway until this shoring wall was in place. So once it is, that fill that you see in there is temporary. It's going to all come back out, and whatever was left of brownfield, and they're at bedrock now on a portion of that property. So
Awesome. And that front building with the carry will be started after that's completed this summer.
hopefully before it snows in September, yeah, that's the plan. As soon as that remediation is complete, is to fill it back and then start work on that foundation. So really we're kind of hinging on when we can start that shoring wall, but it's pretty close. While I'm here, just so you guys know, if any of you would like to stop by and just kind of take a walk through, tour, this next week coming up is probably not a good week, but after that, you know, Zach's got my number. You can reach out. I'd be happy to walk you through the site, just kind of give you the layout and, you know, see where we're at.
Thank you.
Yeah, and again, if there's any concerns, you know, with stuff going on, where we're parking, things like that, he's got my number. Feel free to reach out. We want to, you know, be a good neighbor to Saranac Lake, and I don't think they really had a local presence other than maybe one of the contractors before me. I'm from Plattsburgh, so, you know, kind of from the area, and I'm just an hour away if there's anything going on.
Did you have a good, I'm not sure if you know this, but did you have a good response for applications?
That's out of my,
Adding that, okay.
yeah, I couldn't tell you. No. Yeah, if you guys had questions such as that, if you wanted to kind of put them together, I would certainly forwarded that on to our office down in Baldwin, and they have a better accurate answer for you.
Completion by the end of the summer.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be in pretty good shape. So siding's going on now. Brick guys are coming up in mid-July if they can find us housing for them, for, you know, the tourist season and everything. So, yeah, we're moving right along on things now. There was about a 2-month stretch, I would say, before I got there, that not a lot was happening. And I think that was because that, you know, there wasn't really somebody here to lead the team, so to speak. So, once I got there and kind of got things back settled, started reaching back out to subcontractors. Now we're putting 30 guys a day on that project. So
That's awesome.
things are moving.
Hey, last year, there was a need for housing, and a community development office sent out an email blast at home rental in Saranac Lake, shorter along, and I think they had some success. So if you get the vines, reach out to us, Suzanne.
Oh, great. Yep.
How many guys need house?
So I just got this call today. So most of my subs have found housing. So I got one from the Masons today. He said the place I usually go to got tore down. So I'm not sure where he stayed, hotel maybe. So I gave him the numbers to the other subcontractors, and he was going to reach out to them. And also I found a few houses for rent on Airbnb and things like that. So I told him, call me back if you can't find something. And that was this morning. I haven't heard from him yet today, but you know, hope, you know, fingers crossed he'll get something. So, any other questions?
Really appreciate you coming down.
Yeah, quick and painless, not so bad, and air conditioning, so I'm happy about that. Folks, have a good night.
Next 3 hours.
Right, I should have come down about noon to wait for the meeting. Have a good night.
All right, yeah, my pleasure to introduce Kurt Sullivan and Dave Vanna on fire tower restoration. Kurt.
Sir. Hi, folks. Over here, so I can talk to people here. I'm Kirk Sullivan. I am the chair of the Arts and Culture Advisory Board, and I'm also on the Community Enhancement Fund Committee, which represents the 3 different advisory boards on various projects through the city, or through the town, through the village. Each year, there's a $10,000 budget allotted to the Community Enhancement Fund, and so this committee helps to decide how that money is used. Today, I'm here to present the Saranac Lake Fire Tower project, a project we've been working on for quite some time. Tonight, there's a resolution before the board whether or not to accept $10,000 via Franklin County grant. And so I'm trying to inform you folks and the board about the project, how we got here, and what we hope to see happen in the future. So the Saranac Lake Fire Tower will be, we believe, an iconic landmark for our decidedly different village. Go ahead, Amanda. This is a rendering of what the tower could look like. I do want to point out that there's a lot of decisions left to be made. Tonight is simply about, do we accept this money to purchase the fire tower? And then there's all sorts of conversations that can continue to happen to fine tune the details as far as the exact location, the exact colors, the exact safety features, and various other features. But this is a representative to scale as far as the height of the tower is concerned, and the general placement we believe that it works best at Ward 1 Park. Go ahead, Amanda. So, Saranac Lake Fire Tower will be a 35-foot interactive structure that will serve as the visual and recreational centerpiece of Ward Plummer Park. This park is located at the busiest intersection in all of the Adirondacks, according to the consultants who helped design the park. This tower will activate this park, which I think, as we all know, is in severe need of activation. by providing views of the high peaks and our historic village, offering locals and visitors a free, unique, family-friendly mini mountain experience right in the heart of our downtown. This project has been shaped by community input, research, and broad advisory board support, and is now ready for realization. So in the strategic investment plan in 2019, one of our goals and our strategies is to support placemaking by investing in public streetscapes and parks to promote an attractive, walkable, and dynamic downtown. We believe this project checks off all those boxes. Next slide, please. The vision for this is to make something that's eye-catching, interactive, that blends recreation, education, and local history. We want to give visitors of all ages a mini mountain experience with maps to help identify nearby high peaks and information guides to help give historical background about the area and the relevance of the fire towers. And we want to reinforce Saranac Lake's identity as a creative, community-minded, unique Adirondack hub. Next slide, please. So why here? Why at Ward Plummer Park? So at the beginning of this park's design during the DRI process, it was always imagined to have this upper terrace and lower terrace. And a big part of that upper terrace was what can we put on this upper terrace that's going to help this park make sense for people. We all know it doesn't make sense for anybody right now. What can we put up there that's a big, attractive, eye-catching, hopefully interactive element that lures people up to that upper platform, gives them an opportunity to view our downtown, this intersection, from a unique perspective. So that was always part of the original design, but there was a lot of questions about what that feature should be. We talked about a fire tower at that phase. We also talked about big sculptures and kinetic art. I'll get into more of that later, but that was always one of the ideas of the park, is how can we get people up to that upper terrace? We believe it's going to attract foot traffic to a less visited part of town. It's obviously easily accessible from the rail trail. This park, compared to the other local village parks, is the highest elevation park, and with unique views of downtown, the high peaks, and you can see 4 of the 6ers from the vantage point. This is the busiest intersection in the Adirondacks, as I said, and it's a critical gateway into our village, which has long been ignored, but there's been a lot of energy these last few years to help elevate this intersection with the murals and everything else that's going on there, the renovations at Bitters and Bones, and just there's a lot of new life in this intersection, and we hope to bring more life to this side of town. And we think it'll be a bold, unforgettable first impression to our town. Also a big marketing opportunity. I meant to bring these great posters that are being sold at Hotel Saranac, that say Saranac Lake with a beautiful Adirondack fire tower. And to me, that just shows like the power of this iconic image and how it's going to be used to market our village in the future. I'll go ahead and move. So the project timeline, back in 2021, when this park was being designed, there was a committee, I think called the DRI Advisory Committee. I served on that committee, Trustee Scullin was on that committee, Trustee Burnett was on that committee. We worked with the consultants to help finalize the designs of all the various DRI projects. This being one of them. This was always one of the projects that was the most transformative for our village in that DRI process, as far as the project was going to go from nothing into the something. And right now it's still kind of a question mark what that is going to turn into. But we talked about it, like I said at the time, about what would go on that upper terrace. We considered the fire tower, we considered the sculptures, and there was public input at that time where a lot of comments came in for the fire tower design, against the fire tower design. Out of 447 votes, 46% supported the fire tower design. There were some renderings created at that time that really weren't representative of an Adirondack fire tower, but despite that, 46% of people supported it at that time. But it was decided then that whatever we put up there was going to be beyond the scope of the DRI budget. So the decision was made that we're going to build the park. Once the park is done, we'll decide what to put up there. That brings us to where we are today. So in 2024, the Community Enhancement Fund Committee decided to focus on Ward Plummer Park. We started just thinking about it, focusing how can we make this park come to life. We decided to commission Dan King to make this mountainscape mural that's going to be installed any day at the park. It's going to be this beautiful layered mountainscape that to us establishes a theme of the park as this mini mountain. It's really going to be beautiful, backlit at night, and so we're really excited to see that go up. But that was kind of the first piece of the puzzle to like how can we make this park make sense. And then I presented that to the board at the time, and we talked about the fire tower at the advisory board summit, which is an event that happens yearly with the different advisory boards get together and talk about our projects. And we brainstormed ideas about the fire tower. In 2025, the committee decided to focus on the fire tower and see if we can actually make this happen, research the feasibility, see the cost. There was an Adirondack Enterprise poll at the time. Over 2,000 people voted, 52% in favor, 44% opposed. Throughout that year, like I said, we had the summit where we presented this project. Our advisory boards worked on this. Thank you, Trustee White and Trustee Burnett, for being officios for our advisory boards and being involved in these conversations as we're developing these projects. We And then recently at the end of that, we'll connect it with, we're super lucky. We have a local expert, Dave Van, who's gonna come up here after me and answer some questions. He's one of the nation's leading experts in fire tower restoration. So the fact that he's here, he's a Saranac Lake local, and this is what he's done for a living, he's done it all over the country, is a huge blessing for us. He's been super helpful for us. He's been very generous with his time. He's brought down the overall price significantly. Right now, it's a total $60,000 price tag to do this entire project. And that's a big piece of the puzzle. Without him, I don't think we would be trying to go forward with this because, you need somebody who can actually execute the project. So now it brings us to the staff of Saranac Lake Village Board applied for various grants. We received a $10,000 grant from Franklin County. And that brings us to today, where we are recommending, as the Community Enhancement Fund, with support from all three advisory boards, that the village board supports this project and moves forward by accepting the $10,000, which requires a $10,000 match to purchase the fire tower. Then, like I said, there'll be plenty more time to discuss and explore all the details of how to actually execute the rest of the project and to find the rest of the money, which I'll talk about next. Go ahead, Amanda. I don't want to understate the importance of the advisory boards. I think to me, this is one of the most powerful parts about our village. Anytime I'm here, I like to talk about the advisory boards, how influential and just how inspiring it is to me, because it's all these volunteers who get together, parks and trails, downtown, and arts and culture, and just donate their time and energy to come up with these projects that we really believe can benefit the community. It's a bunch of passionate individuals who just who really play a big role in the functioning of our village here. And the fact that all three of them came together to support this project, to me, is a big deal. It's very meaningful. I just want everybody to be aware of that. Next slide, please. So some details. It's a 35-foot tower. The roof of it will be 43 feet at the peak. It'll include all the available safety features. David can speak a little more eloquently on those, with non-skid stairs, custom child height safety railings, custom screened staircases and landings, and replica window grids that can or cannot have screened openings. The educational features, we hope to have wayfinding maps in the tower and potentially on the lower terrace to connect people at street level to the tower. We want to have historical information about fire towers and our region inside and outside the fire tower. Next slide, please. A lot of people talk about the ADA compliance part of this puzzle. This park is fundamentally not ADA compliant just due to the grade of the park. So it will not, whatever happens up there will not be technically ADA compliant. One idea that we thought was really cool was we put a camera on the tower, and then people at street level who can't get to the top level could scan their phone and see a view of what the tower sees, and then also stream some audio about what it's seeing and some of that historical and educational information streamed to people's phones at the lower level as well. The insurance provider confirmed that it'd be an extra $150 a year to cover the tower. The liability will be under the existing coverage, and the upkeep costs will be very minimal. The entire structure is going to be coated in this hot dip zinc, which David can talk about, but it shouldn't rust for 30 or 40 years. Maybe the stairs will get some from wear and tear, but can easily be repainted with spray paint and spot painting every now and then. So about $250 a year for labor and spray painting with this special paint for the fire tower. Next, please. So the overall cost is $60,000. We could have $20,000 today if we accept this grant, if the village matches it. The tentative plan going forward, all these other things are just tentative. What we hope to do is apply to a LEAF grant for at least $10,000, hopefully more. Apply for a T-Mobile grant for $15,000. The Franklin County already indicated they would give $5,000 to small businesses like the Chamber of Commerce or any other organization that wants to partner with us. If other folks want to be responsible for the signage or the information sheets, things like that. And if needed, we could use next year's Community Enhancement Fund, $10,000. Next slide, please. So in summary, this is an opportunity, we believe, to create an iconic landmark that reflects our village's unique spirit and our region's rich history. It's designed with community input and expert consultation. We believe it will transform Ward Cornwall Park into a vibrant, family-friendly destination. Finally, this park will have meaning and functionality for everybody who's been wondering what that will be. I think this answers that question. And it will draw visitors to this lesser traveled part of town for a memorable mini mountain experience. With full advisory support, safety solutions in place, and realistic funding strategy already in motion, we recommend to the board that we accept this grant funding to purchase the fire tower. Thank you very much. That's all I have. I do have slides with the view. So this would be looking south. You can see three mountains there, and in the west. Maybe by switching the outside now south. You see three more high peaks there, four of which are sixer. We also think it'd be a cool idea to have a sixer bell in the tower to remove that. Like I said, there's all sorts of conversations that continue to happen about this project. We just hope this is the first step to make it an officially village endorsed project where we can get this grant money to purchase the tower. Yeah. help make this park make sense.
Thanks, sir. Anybody have questions for Kirk or Dave? That's one question. We can ask Dave. Dave.
What's that? How many people fit in the cabin, Dave?
You should be able to get 6 people in the cabin at a time. And the tower, that type of tower is oftentimes rated for 40 people on the tower at any one time. But the cabin should be posted for 6 people.
So yeah, there's a couple options if you want to close it down at night, which some municipalities do, some don't. Dave can explain this too. He says, so, there's a stairway that you enter. You can get a piece of metal that's like a door that shuts on the stairway. So somebody would have to open and close that daily, at dusk and dawn. And then you could also do, you enter through like a trap door into the cabin as you're climbing up. You could get a trap door that you shut and lock and same thing. So I also recommend, just having postings like, have some cameras that this area is under surveillance. Is that?
We have security cameras.
Yeah, security
We've been working on
It's
that.
just to deter, any nighttime activity.
It's not gonna be things such as very vulnerable. Then you have.
Yeah, I think on those big event days, you have somebody at the bottom of the track.
Yeah, it's safe first. From a self-standpoint, it's gonna be money. Make sure we're pushing something that's safe for the community.
Of course.
Dave, you doing quite a few of these?
Over 70
Seven.
in 20 years.
I mean, how did you come up with the safety upgrades? And put on this?
In the beginning, when people asked for a safety upgrade or to meet code in any way, we'd work on that. The tower itself, the railings are standard railings are shorter than code, so we raise the railing height to code. The stairs, most public towers, they want non-skid stairs, not even, because the wood itself, if it gets wet, can be slippery, so we put non-skid metal mesh stairs on. And I believe there's kickers on these stairs, so usually the stairs are just stacked with no kicker board there, so we would devise a kicker board.
And then additional railings for kids and such.
Yeah, there will be a lower railing at more of a child's height. And the screening on the stairs and the landing would be a heavier gauge screening that'll take a little bit more abuse and last years.
It was basically impossible to fall.
With the railings higher than standard height, yes, you'd have to make an effort.
All of the screenings, when you're saying is it screening the whole open area or is it just like the top of the rail?
It goes up almost to the top rail, and then the top rail is right above it. And a children's height rail would be inside the screen and a little lower.
And when
And
you say 6 people at the top and 40 on the tower,
that means every landing on the tower could have 5 or 6 people
6
on it.
people on it.
And then the question, there's other questions that need to be worked through about some of the safety options. There won't be any glass in the windows just because it's asking for trouble. So then we can reduce the size of the window panes respectively, so that tightens up the panels, because they're about 13 by 17 right now. And we can reduce that size, or we can put a screening around the outside of the representative window frames. Say a 3-inch screening on that, so you could still take a picture through it with your iPhone or whatever, but you can't suggest to your little brother that he go for a walk.
70 towers, that's a good view. All the next year.
Yeah, both for private clients and public clients, and restored towers in place for the 4 or 5 states. New York, I've done 6 mountaintop towers and restored them or fixed them or put new roof on them and new braces where they've corroded after 50 or 100 years.
We did, I talked with Dave earlier today after speaking with Trustee Burnett about, you can paint these any color you want. So he'll hot dip in the zinc, so it'll be like that gray silver color. But you could paint it with a certain kind of paint that adheres to zinc. And that will just require some touch ups every few years.
How many? There's going to be 3 landings above the ground and 5 sets of stairs for a 35-foot tower.
Peak is 43 foot, right?
What is?
The peak.
The peak is 8 or 9 feet higher than the 35. So yes, 43 feet.
I think the threshold is.
Which we did get an approved variance for.
Which I thought we already did, but
Yeah, we have approved variance.
I thought that was just, I didn't think that was an official variance. I thought she was just looking into it.
How tall do you want to go?
Well, I think at the start of this one, it was mentioned, we wanted to know if there was.
Oh, okay, for
A
the,
ceiling.
in the village, yeah. And that's what the APA clarified. Yeah.
They approved up to the tallest tower you offer. I think the floor of that was 40 or.
45 foot tower, 50 feet.
53.
Yeah.
So they approved up to that height.
Okay.
So this one,
Did we get a written decision from that?
yes.
Can we share that?
Dave, you've done so many of these. I've looked at your website and other towers you've been involved in. Can you explain why this location is your ideal spot in the village?
That was what Kirk explained.
Okay.
Uh,
Have you ever thought of other locations in the village?
They've been brought up by people on various committees when I started talking to the town during Clyde Rapidu's period. And there were other locations. One was, I believe, the river, somewhere along the riverside. And a more remote location up off of Lake Street at the water tank up there, where it would require, I believe, a taller tower to give you the view. And then access, parking control, et cetera, et cetera.
Is there a location that makes it ideal?
Well, you want the public to know it's there. The Palmetto Park is very obvious. Everybody that comes in is going to see it. And hopefully it'll bring them to that end of town where there's not as much traffic as the main portion of town here on the Upper Broadway.
The 60,000 price tag, is that with all safety features after that it's dip?
That's with most of the safety features. We still have to nail down what all the safety features entails. So it's very close to the full price.
I think, yeah, one of the only ones that I'm aware of that we have to nail down is whether or not we screen the upper cabinet. Like you were saying, the window panes are like somewhere like this size. Do we want to put a little screen on that, which is like kind of impeding your view? Or just that you can make them even thinner to make them more safe? So that's like another decision that needs to be made.
So is it not as open as the picture depicts?
It's always what we choose. Right now it is, but we can modify it to make it less.
So you see right now it's got 8 windows in it. The windows that are typical, that's typical to the very oldest version of fire tower that New York State had, was the 8 panes of glass. The more recent ones have 18 panes of glass on that side, so that makes them considerably smaller. And then if you want to divide it up a little bit more for less chance of objects going out of the window. Do that.
Just for clarity, and Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, the last numbers I saw, they got us to 60 was also the terrific signage and different amenities that we would add after that really don't relate to the tower itself. I thought that the tower was at 54 with safety amenities, and then,
I believe it is,
yeah.
but again, we haven't,
We've had it for 54 to 60, just assuming.
Nice gates, some signs, some pictures, possibly camera.
but that doesn't include camera, the kiosks, the signage. I don't do that.
Do you know where this fire tower that we're talking about came from?
Yeah, it came from Upper New Hampshire.
The other fires that you, the fire towers that you moved down, the other fire towers you moved down, have they been in locations like ours? that you Closed during the winter, or have they closed them off?
No, I've done about 5 or 6 of them in public parks. The most recent one was in Cypress, Texas, outside of Houston. They've put a 60-foot tower in that's open dawn to 8 o'clock at night. And then after that hours, it's got a trap door on it, but they're just leaving it. They told me they took the trap door off because they just didn't want the trap door. I've restored a few standing towers in public parks. In Alabama, I've done 2. There's one going in Florida, northern Florida, in Fellsmere on the East Coast. There's one in Wilton, New York, exit 17 on the Northway, about 2 miles off that exit in a public park. And down at Grafton Lake State Park, which is about 25 miles east of Albany. I initially helped restore the existing fire tower in the state park, and then a couple of years later, they requested the top section of the fire tower to be made appropriate for the children's playground at their new visitor center at the park. That one's in place. And then
Do
in,
they all keep them open in winter?
Yeah.
The ones, obviously.
and then there's one in Mount Tremper near Woodstock. They opened New York State DEC opened a visitor center for the Catskill Mountains, the Maurice D. Hinchey Visitor Center, and they requested a fire tower, which I put in for the state. It's an 80-foot fire tower. And you could drive and park within about 200 yards of it and walk gravel walkways to the tower and climb it. And it's open 7 days a week during park hours.
That's weird.
Hmm?
I bet that's a great view, 8 feet.
AD compliant, the pads
No,
are.
no, I bet that was a great view, 80 feet.
Well, it's a good view, but it was put there for the public so they don't have to go and climb a mountain to climb a fire tower. In that it's in the bottom of the valley, but they made it tall enough so you can see over the trees. So you're looking down a valley. And you see the river going by, things like that, and the farmland around it. But not all fire towers go in on mountaintops when they're going in a public park. They put them in, like the one in Texas, it's in a public park. And the manager of the whole operation had to have a fire tower before he retired, and he got it. So, and it's there for everybody. And they're all telling me how many people go up and down their fire towers in a week, and it's surprising numbers.
What are the numbers? I mean, obviously, that wouldn't be the same here, Saranac Lake, but.
Hundreds. Yeah. And at Mount Tremper at the visitor center, they've had days when it's an open house, so there's just thousands of people there, and then they said they've lost count on how many people went up and down. Because there's no docent at the tower. They've got the signage at the base of the tower and things like that. And it's climbable. anybody.
Are they typically attended or unattended in your experience, or is somebody there to help manage traffic and safety?
The one at Wilton has an attendant there during its open periods. It's open for school groups by appointment or large groups by appointment. And then I believe it's open one weekend a month with a docent.
Which is like a volunteer or somebody that just.
Yeah, it's a volunteer that knows a little bit about the history. And inside the compound where it is, the fenced area, there is a reproduction of a ranger's cabin, like was typical on the mountaintops. There was a tower and a cabin nearby. Like up on Wakely Mountain in Tupper Lake, there's which one's over in Tupper Lake? But anyway, there's usually a ranger's cabin nearby. A lot of those have fallen to the wayside and been removed.
So you would say it has to be dismantled and removed at some point. What is the cost to do that for the, you know?
I would say it'd be about $15,000.
How long does it take to install, like, once everything's set, plans are drawn, how long is the construction process?
The concrete would take probably 4 or 5 days to do the concrete work. And
So there is required concrete work.
yes, we're looking at a couple different ways to do the concrete to make it the simplest, and that's got to be looked at by an engineer because I don't stamp any blueprints.
So Dave, I don't know, if you've seen the email just came in last week or maybe the week before, but, engineer who designed that part, got a set of schematics for the tower. And, said the back has a 4-foot, frost wall.
Yeah, I got those.
You got those?
Yeah.
They said the front, it's a 12-inch slab area, but if we want to be extra cautious, we can, increase the size of the feet to transfer more weight over.
Correct, I saw that too, and I'm gonna do some sketches off of that and send it back through Kirk.
Okay.
Dave walked the property after that last week, and he was confident that the minimal needed. He said it was $1,500 approximately to do it.
For what?
The slab version of the concrete.
I didn't put a price on it,
I thought that's what he said.
it's 15 square yards.
Okay.
Okay, and so that comes out to about, what? 3 or 4 cubic yards of concrete and basic forming, but it all has to be done to meet code. So if there's a step up there, you don't want to have a 12-inch slab that's a 12-inch step because that doesn't meet code.
So we would need engineered stamped plans.
Yes,
Yes.
the town hasn't told me they do or don't,
Right, okay.
but I would presume that. I do have an engineer that I've worked with on about a dozen projects.
Whether that, some of it.
Yeah, he's working on probably 3 or 4 right now.
Yeah, I think so, right? So what will be the next steps as far as the engineering and the concrete side of it? You were confident it would be a simple version when you looked at it, but we just have to get your engineer to sign up on that?
Well, we'd run it by Luck Brothers engineer, and then we could try talking to the local engineer that the town uses. And if either of those are okay with it and would stamp a drawing for the concrete, you could go from there. If you need to go beyond that, then I would suggest you go to the engineer I use, who's registered in New York State. Well, like I said, the engineer who is it that does a lot of the work in the thing?
But then don't you usually work with engineers?
We use Joe Garso for a lot of other stuff, and a lot of other engineers, but, Craig Abels of Bloomdale, who I'm sure you know, he, designed that part. for
Oh,
Luck
okay.
Brothers.
Yeah,
And so we ran it by him, and he said, honestly, I don't think that's to the surface.
I can give him more information if he wants it.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Okay, because if that alleviates, it's putting more expenses on for engineering, it saves a lot.
So were engineering expenses included in the price tag?
No.
No, these are the costs of the fire tower itself. Installation. Yeah,
Oh,
Craig,
Craig.
concrete.
Sorry, yeah, Craig is the one who told me, he didn't think he had to do anything to the surface, because they did mention, cutting out sections and putting in footers.
Yeah, that gets pretty involved.
Yeah, he said that it wouldn't be necessary to. Wait.
Like,
We just gotta get with Craig the exact plans for the fire tower. So he could review.
and I could probably give him enough information that he can figure out the wind loading. Because you're not just holding the weight of the tower,
Right.
you're holding the tower down in the wind. You're in a protected site, but somebody has to take all that into account and put their stamp on.
The resolution that we're talking about tonight. Did you find out any dates on that, when it would have to be accepted by?
I do not. Timeline of Franklin County regulations. It was my understanding that, you need more discussion.
Board's good, open up public comment, if you guys are gonna stay, just in case there's any more discussion or questions during the bills and for. Thanks for coming, Dave.
Thanks.
Sir. Appreciate it. Okay, at this time, we're gonna open up public comment for anyone who would like to speak. Come on up.
Just pass out some materials. Okay, let me know if I'm not loud enough.
That's perfect.
Cool, thank you. I'm nervous, so I apologize in advance. Thank you for providing me the time to speak this evening. My name is Jessica Mullen, and I'm a resident of Saranac Lake. I'm here to address an incorrect, unjust water and sewer bill in the amount of $13,480.24, which was issued for alleged water and sewer usage from December 2nd, 2024 to February 28th, 2025. Contrary to what I was told by the water department staff, New York's public service law does not have authority over municipally owned utility providers. This includes the water department. So the Saranac Lake Village Board is the body that has oversight and authority to make decisions regarding the water department and its billing, including my incorrect and unjust invoice. Some more details on this issue. In April, I received the incorrect, unjust water and sewer bill for $13,480.24. I was told I had 1 month to pay the entire incorrect balance before it would be sent to Essex County to be levied onto my taxes this fall. I disputed the bill first by phone, which I'm providing some details on today, and then I formally disputed the bill via certified mail sent on April 29th, 2025. To date, I have not received a response. I've provided that letter today to the board and to the clerk. It details the various reasons the bill is incorrect and unjust. I've received some guidance from Bill Tansey, the attorney for Essex County. He's been so incredibly helpful and has outlined what's needed to remedy the mistake. I'm requesting that I be placed on the agenda for the next meeting. I can email a draft resolution this week, and I just need a board member to sponsor it. The resolution should authorize the village treasurer to write a statement explaining how the invoice is in error and that the invoice should be modified downward. According to Bill, I need to fill out and submit an RP 554 form, which is an application for corrected tax roll. Then I'll send that form to the village treasurer, and given authority via the resolution that I mentioned, they can provide a statement explaining how this is an error. Then I can send both the RP 554 and treasurer's statement up to the Essex County Real Property Office. So The next step that I'm requesting is to be put on the agenda and for the board to pass a resolution which describes the situation and authorizes a downward modification of the invoice and authorizes the treasurer to provide a written explanation of the circumstances of the erroneous bill. I've distributed copies this evening of my materials, including this statement that I'm reading, and I'll also email them to the village clerk. It is my understanding that my account has not been re-levied yet, and that the real property office is aware of the upcoming request to correct it. Everything should be good to go, assuming the paperwork gets completed and submitted. The incorrect and unjust bill I received for $13,480.24 is an especially serious matter because if it's re-levied onto my taxes, I will lose my home. This would displace myself, my partner, and 3 college-educated young professionals for whom I provide affordable rent amidst an increasingly inaccessible housing market. I also want to note that at one point during my phone call with the water department, it was assumed that the property isn't my primary residence. This is incorrect. I vote here, I get all of my medical care here, I receive all my mail here, my tax documents are addressed to here, and my vehicle is registered here. Also on the same phone call, one of the employees likened the water bill in Saranac Lake Water Department to National Grid. This is a very inaccurate and essentially dangerous comparison for at least 3 reasons. 1, National Grid offers payment plans that can be spread out over the course of many years. 2, National Grid is an investor-owned utility that is regulated by a state entity called the Public Service Commission, which has judges and protocols and complaint processes that our water department is not sanctioned by. Again, the village board is the regulating body in this case, which is why I'm here tonight. And finally, comparing our water department to National Grid is inaccurate because National Grid, along with all investor-owned utilities in New York, is required to provide low-income households the ability to enroll in an energy affordability program, which discounts their monthly bills. Again, I request that I be put on the next meeting's agenda so that the board can consider a resolution that authorizes a downward modification of the incorrect invoice and authorizes the village treasurer to provide a letter explaining the circumstances surrounding the bill modification. Thank you again for allowing me the time to speak tonight. My contact information is included in the materials that I shared in case that you need it. And thanks again.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming tonight.
Jessica, can I just ask one question?
Sure.
You were mentioning that the bill is incorrect. Which portion of it is incorrect? Are you saying that the water did drain into your basement and just the sewer
So
portion is incorrect?
The sewer portion is completely incorrect, and then the usage is questionable. And I'm also expecting a bill the next time, and it's also potentially going to be erroneous as well, but I can address that when we can cross that bridge when we get there.
Okay.
Thank you.
So,
Good evening, folks. For those that don't know me, I'm Joe Kilburn, born and raised in Saranac Lake.
Excuse me, we can't hear the people saying it. Can you stand over there?
Sure, for you I
Great,
will.
thank you.
Okay, next up. Born and raised in Saranac Lake. It's very simple. In the paper, I just read recently regarding sanctuary of this town. Having the police not enforce the law. I just want to make it simple. If you're here illegally, you gotta go. I love this town. My mother, born and raised herself, started a shelter for women. She started a food pantry. She's known in this town. Her name is Pat Galis. For those that do know her, her maiden name was Suze. She helped everybody. But she had one rule. Follow the rules. That's it. Nothing hard. And I love to help people. And for people to come into this country legally, that's fine. Do it the right way. We as citizens that pay taxes are paying for other people being here legally. And we're putting our officers in a position of breaking the law. By doing that, that's not fair to them. Under the obligation, of the United States on the immigration laws under what everybody is misunderstanding as it's simple. You come in this country, they give the proper documentation, you can stay. Don't ask our officers not to enforce the law. The 14th Amendment says that we have the right to be safe in our country, in our state. And it's the obligation of both federal and state to protect us. I'm not saying every immigrant that comes here is wrong and they're bad. The ones that do come here usually for a purpose of civil war in their country. And that's what the way this was established in the 80s. San Francisco was one of them that stated that, hey, there's a civil war in Central America. We'll have us off, we'll be one of those sanctuary cities. But these immigrants are not in a civil war, they're just coming through. If I go to your house, uninvited, walk in, sit down, eat your food, take your money, bathe in your tub, that's breaking and entering. I didn't have your permission. So what's the difference of people coming in illegally? See, our country's not our country, it's also our home. Saranac Lake's our home. We are our home, we should treat that way. It's not right to break the law just because we're trying to make people happy. You want to make them happy and you want to help them, do it right. Because this helps find the right people to come in to better our country and our town. But at this point right now, we're just afraid to say no. And we shouldn't be. And I'm at the point, I'm worried about my daughter. She is going to college. I'm afraid that if this snowballs to other towns, I'm afraid that something's gonna happen to her because we're not even understanding that her safety is based on laws that we're basically breaking. I don't want her to walk down the street and thinking that the next person she bumps into could be somebody that's not supposed to be here and they're dangerous. We have to go to countries with passports. We have to legally do that to go to any country, right? So what's the difference between an illegal alien, legal, somebody coming in illegally without documentation? We can't even go to Canada now without a passport. We used to back in the 80s and 90s. That's going on. But the fact is, we are here today discussing this one thing that gets to me. We're not using common sense. Just read the law. Try not to take it out of context. It's simple. The law is there for us to obey, to protect us, and just simply, make everybody else safe and make sure that everything is done right. That's all I'm asking is, the clear police in a position for them to break the law is just, dumb. It's not right to them. We shouldn't put them in that position. Yep. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. I had something else about the park.
What?
You sure?
Yeah, we're running out of time, guys.
Give me 1 minute. I just have one question about the park. Where's the gentleman? On that, can you pull up that picture real quick of the park? I have one question, or it's actually a solution also. Yeah. Okay, you were looking to say, well, I think we're not going up there. The reason is you don't have a path showing you can. So if you make a path that makes it look like that, don't walk up there. To me, I see grass, and I'm not gonna walk up there. So you were trying to show people a footpath, that would help. Just like you have downtown, you have the park with the double layers, you still have steps. And you can sit there. Make it look like you can walk there. Okay. Thanks, Joe. I got more. Thanks, guys.
Oh, don't forget your, glasses, so.
Happy day.
Great.
This is where we are. Okay, I'll do a little of this. So my name is Denise Figueroa. Thank you for having me and having this meeting. I'm a resident of the town. I wanted to talk about the park and just quickly, I have a 9-year-old, which is amazing. And there are so many field trips that happen. So to see St. Bernard's and Petrova and summer programs, it's amazing what they can do by foot. This last week alone, I can't even remember them all, but they went to the carousel, they went to the Institute, there were so many things to do in town. So to be able to have a fire tower in town for these kids to go to, and we keep talking about Mount Pisgah. And if someone wants a fire tower at Mount Pisgah, work on that. I don't feel it needs to be one or the other. I feel like when an idea comes up, we just come up with another idea. So the idea is for a fire tower in town, unless I'm wrong. I believe that's what the presentation is. So, you know, let's support that. If someone wants a fire tower in Mount Pisgah, work on that. But they're two different things. It's such a big difference to have something accessible in town. We probably all have vehicles. People don't have cars. People share cars. People walk to work. Those kids are not getting in a car and going to Tupper, or even going to Pisgah. You know, we talk about tennis courts at Mount Pisgah. That's great, but people need things in town. So that was my big point. I look at my big fancy notes here. So I wanted to make that point about the kids and that not every family can do that, and to keep Mount Pisgah separate. It doesn't have to be one or the other. The other thing is to just have that in town. The businesses in town need customers. We don't want to be super busy. I get that. We love our little town just the way it is. But if our businesses don't have customers, we're not going to have jobs locally. And that's a big difference. You look at these businesses Monday through Friday, they're not busy, even in high season. So I don't public speak a lot, so my voice is what it is. But that's really important. So I just wanted to say that. No, we don't want to be so busy, but we have 30 businesses in town and they don't have enough business. So to have a fire tower in town, just the amount of magazines that we end up in, the maps that we end in, the scratch offs for fire towers that exist that get passed out to kids, it will be a destination to come here. So obviously I'm in full support of that fire tower, and anything that I can do to help or committee or, you know, continue to talk. I just wanted to present that. Any questions? No questions? No? Okay.
Just, did you know that Play 80K is also proposed to fire tower?
I think that's great. Let's have one there too. Absolutely. It doesn't have to be limited. We don't have to think small. We want to be different. Have the town that doesn't have one fire tower have two, but we do that far too often in this town. And I'm going to sound like I'm complaining, but we always come up with obstacles. We have an idea. Let's do this. Oh, we can't do it because of crosswalk. Oh, we can't do it because we have one at Mount Pisgah. All we do is come up with obstacles, and we need to stop doing that. If there are residents in town passionate and want to put a project together, stand behind them and stop talking about obstacles that are in 20 years of what does it cost to tear it down. You know, respectfully, it's important to know. It's probably a very valid fact. I'm not a planner or, you know, in charge of this kind of stuff. So it's probably really relevant, but it looks like an obstacle. It looks like all we're trying to do is put borders between, you know, obstacles having it happen. So I think that's great, but 80K is not there yet, right? It's not built yet?
But you just mentioned to Kirk that, you know, if you could do anything, so if you wanted to help with that one as well, they're not.
I have gone to some of their meetings to help out. It's been a long time they're coming, and you know what? That's what this town does. They work so hard. Look at the lift at Pisgah. The, what do you call that? The T-bar, right? We had the sign forever and raising money and raising money and raising money, and we did it. So, you know, we could do 80K, but this park already exists. The kids can walk there. It can already happen, as opposed to, oh, something in the future is being, I'm sorry, I don't know how close that is, but I feel like it's further away. So to stop this because something else might happen, let's just get this done. That's my point, and not have any other reason for it not to happen. Have fire towers. Let's do it. Let's be different. All right.
I just say something real quick about the Play 80K thing. I did talk with Rob Carr. So first of all, their tower is, they do have plans to do a tower. Hopefully that happens. Their tower is not going to be a historic Adirondack fire tower. There's going to be a slide on it. It's going to have like a deck on it. I don't know the height on it, but it's like not supposed to be like an Adirondack historic fire tower. But he was excited about this idea. He thought, how cool could it be if there was walkie-talkies between the towers, that we talk between the towers? How cool would it be if we actually could see the towers, which maybe we can. It's hard to tell right now. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that. I did speak with Rob, and he said he thinks the fire tower is super cool.
Yeah, come on up.
I won't need 5 minutes. I'll be brief. My name is Joe Henderson. I'm a village resident, school board member, and also local college faculty member. And I mention those because they're relevant to what I'm about to say. I want to support Trustee White's bill tonight. And I want to relay a story that I had after working with a former student who is here legally doing all of the right things, and yet still feels terrified to go out on our streets. And this student said to me the other day, anytime I see a man in a uniform, I am afraid in the village. And that was interesting to hear and really made me sad. And that assumes that men are in uniforms. I mean, we're seeing news articles of people being disappeared off the streets, including legal citizens, by men who aren't wearing uniforms. And I wonder about what that says about our society and kind of where we're going, where we are. This student who, again, to the gentleman's earlier point, was doing everything appropriately, terrified to go out in our community. And I wonder, I guess I wonder what kind of community we want to be. And I say that because this is an area that has declining population in a society that is becoming more and more diverse. We are a nation of immigrants, is one of our strengths. We have lots of empty storefronts in this town. We have lots of employers struggling to find workers. We have conversations on the school board about what to do with our declining enrollment. And I ask this question, shouldn't we be welcoming of diverse people, not hostile to them? There's a raft of research in sociology, my field, on how increased diversity, including of immigrants, have revitalized many rural areas like ours. And I find myself asking this question all the time. What kind of community do we want to be? Do we want to be inclusive and thriving, or do we want to be exclusive and continue to die?
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
I'll let someone else have my seat.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Andrea Darby. I'm a village resident, a homeowner, a taxpayer, and I truly love my Saranac Lake community. I'm here today to speak in favor of the resolution for safeguarding our residents and our financial resources. I was motivated today to come to talk to you all by reading the Facebook comments about this particular bill that you all are putting forward. The most innocuous of them show the lack of imagination for what it might be like to be an undocumented immigrant in this community. And the most egregious comments were, quite frankly, unabashedly racist, and that deeply upset me. I come here to publicly offer a counterpoint to those opinions because I don't feel like a Facebook war is helping anyone, and I wanted to do something positive and say it out loud in front of my community members. I support this resolution unequivocally. For me, it is about equality, it's about fairness, it's about safety, and it's also about fiscal responsibility. All of our community members deserve to be treated the same by our police force, regardless of their immigration status. I believe that very strongly. Anything less is unfair and unacceptable. If the undocumented individuals in our community do not feel safe to report violent crimes, or to report unsafe working conditions, then we're all less safe. It's an uncomfortable irony, but cooperating with these ICE enforcement actions actually makes us less safe and not more safe. And I just wanted to stand here and just speak and remind us all that immigrants are also members of this community. Undocumented immigrants are members of this community. They work hard and they pay taxes. And the gentleman that spoke prior to me characterized immigrants as wanting to come into your home and to bathe in your bathtub and to eat your food. But mostly they are here to clean your bathtub and to serve you and prepare your food for you. They work very hard to try to make a new life for themselves here. And again, for me, this is about equality, fairness, and safety. I appreciate Trustee Aurora White bringing this forward, and I would urge you all to support the resolution for safeguarding our residents and our financial resources. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. My name is Linda Lacey. I am a resident of Saranac Lake, and I'm here as a parent. I am here in complete support of the proposal that trustee White is putting forward. As a parent, my children go to school every day and they are surrounded with friends that are trans, friends that are mentally ill, friends that are physically handicapped, friends that are students whose parents might not be here the right way. Their parents might be here on a visa or a green card or a work program. And my children go to school, and throughout their years, they have been taught that the police are heroes. Firemen are heroes, the police are heroes, community members, men and women like yourself are trusted, and that they can go to you. They are now scared because they're afraid that the police are going to take their friends away. Put yourself there. Think about it. Think about what it would feel like for your child to have you ripped away from them. And then they're ripped away from all of their friends and anyone they know and anyone who they thought they could trust now is the bad guy. It scares me. It scares me that my kids don't feel like they can trust their community because they don't think that their community is going to protect the people that are the weakest. So I'm asking you all to really, really think about this decision because it's important and it says a lot about you and who my kids can trust.
Evening. I am also here to support trustee White's proposal for non-involvement of our village police in helping others who may come here and may be wearing masks, so you can't really see, who's challenging you. And who come, and because immigrants are so fearful that they might get something wrong or that they might be challenged, that I've heard it said, people don't come out of their homes. I am concerned with the idea that strangers who might not have any kind of documentation as government law enforcement, but come in with, mixed up looking outfits with ice plastered across the back, and come and charge in and drag people off. And when they are challenged by legal representatives that are elected officials, when they're challenged with their not having a warrant signed by a judge to pick a person up, they just grab the person. So there's a lot of talk that I've heard over time about how immigrants are coming in. There's this idea that, oh, if these people come in and they're not doing it right, that means that they're going to take something away from us. And what so few people understand, because they're drawn in by all the drama that's being thrown at us these days, is that they don't understand what people go through to come here. I have a friend who walked all the way from Central America up north to come here as a very young adult. And that friend has elevated themselves with education. They pay taxes, bought a home, support their families. And we don't see that because nobody's talking about it. We're just getting whatever stuff is flying at us from the media. And I was thinking about this today, and the thing that came to my mind was follow the money. Who's building the detention centers? who's running the detention centers, who's taking everything away from these people. Who are they? Go back 50 years, and these were the people who were in white hoods with the eyes cut out. Go back even further than that. Look at Hitler's Germany. These little incremental incursions on our neighborhoods, factories being run over by, who knows, that they're really ICE agents, and do they really belong? And who are they being paid by? Are they being paid by government? Are they being paid by private organizations, private corporations who are benefiting off of the suffering of these people? These people who come, you ask anybody about how people from other countries are going to be behaving here, is they take care of their families and they work and they pay taxes. And when they first come here, they can't work, generally speaking, because they first have to go through several hoops to even get to that position. So I know of one woman who's in town, she can't start working yet because she's waiting for that next document. So I think we owe it to ourselves, if we want a safe community where people can help one another. We need to, all of us need to educate ourselves more and not rely totally on media. And thank you.
My name is Jason Brill. I live here in Saranac Lake. I've lived here for 22 years. I have a very brief comment. People are not illegal. People are people. Laws, unjust laws, should be illegal. Our police force should not be put in the position of taking people off the street who have come here with nothing but good intentions. We should also not have our police force doing the work of the federal government. It is the federal government's job to enforce their federal laws. And that's all I really want to say. We don't need to put our police force, who have become the most warmly appreciated folks that I have ever seen in any police force and anywhere, right, in a position of scaring people. People who are not here illegally, people who are here legally, people who just people. People don't want to come back to America. People don't want to go to cross the border and come back. We shouldn't be putting our police in that position, especially not if the federal government is going to pay them the additional millions of dollars that it's going to cost our village to do their jobs. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I moved here recently, and the first thing I realized when I moved here was there's so many policemen everywhere. And I also support the bill 88. I don't want there to be a bigger police presence in our town, which, yeah, I think the big thing that students have to me about this bill is that the ICE is not following due process. So I don't think our police should be supporting anyone who is not following due process and the laws of our government. And the other thing I'll say is that these people, regardless of their immigration status, are doing a lot of jobs that we don't want to do. We generally, a lot of like people that were born and raised here maybe don't want to work in a lumber mill or cleaning people's homes or things like that. And they're holding our economy together regardless of their immigration status. And that's all I'll say about that.
Hello there, I'm Joy Cranker. I'm a village resident, and I am here also in support of White's proposal. I would like to know, does it do more than just have the police ignore ICE here, or can they request, who are these officers? What are their badge numbers, or what are their names, and who are they? Are they allowed to request anything like that?
I think we have to talk to the police chief But
Okay.
I would assume that if anyone is doing something illegal, regardless of their ICE or someone else that are in our local jurisdiction, that the police will take care of it.
I would hope so, but that's not always happening. That's why I'm really glad you've put this forward, and I've asked for it. I want to say thank you. People are not illegal. I won't say the words. If they are even undocumented, that's only a civil violation. That's not a big deal. It's not something that people should not get due process over. So I really strongly believe we need to stand up and not just support the police in not helping ICE, but let the police protect our community. And our community should get your vote, not the hope of some tax dollars from the federal government. So you're voting for money or you're voting for the people. That's what it comes down to. It's not about anything else, because these people are not illegal. No human being is illegal. And even if they came here without proper ways, some people think they should have, it's a civil violation and only a civil violation. And the legal process is very complicated. The ICE, they're canceling people's due process to take them away. They're having their judges cancel their cases so they can walk out and get taken. There's a lot of illegal stuff going on by ICE right now. And I do not think that our police department should be any part of that other than to protect those people from ICE. Because ICE is not doing a legal due process for people. And that's been very well documented. And they might say if they're criminals, they weren't going after criminals. That's like less than 10% of the people they're picking up have any criminal problems at all. And they're picking up people they don't even have warrants for. They come under false pretenses to pick up someone, and that's not even what they go after. They go after whoever they find. So I'm asking really to support White's proposal and put that through and let our town stand for the community, not anything else. I also think if we're going to donate $10,000 to a fire tower, maybe it should go to the museum to help them with their fire tower. I know it's not the nostalgic one, but it's still a fire tower. $60,000 is a lot for nostalgia, especially stuck between two bars, which someday could be a problem. No matter how many safety devices should come into there, alcohol can change what happens. And that's a bad spot. Thank you.
I'll speak from this morning just to broadcast. Mark Wilson, Village of Saranac Lake, thank you for the opportunity. I just change gears here for a second. I know at the last meeting it was said that Rob Krishnowski, the consultant who the village is working with in developing the emergency services complex, will be preparing a report by the first meeting in July. I believe that, I haven't heard anything else since the last meeting. I would like to request, given that since the last time we've heard from Mr. Krasnowski at Linwood Five Bugles, there was this revelation of an uncorrected, unaddressed oil spill in the basement of St. Pius X building. And I know that it was said from the dais last week, or last meeting, that the previous village board was aware of this oil spill. I have since talked to members of that board who were not notified before the village went into contract on that property that there was an active unremediated oil spill in that building. What concerns me, and I've addressed this before, so I'll be brief, is that the village has owned that Pius X building since December 2023, so a year and a half. In that period, we've been pumping water out from the basement of that building where the oil spill occurred. We now have photographs from the DEC showing the oil sheen on the water that collects in the basement of that building. That building was built on an active stream. The question I have, and I'd like to have it addressed tonight if possible, is have we just been pumping that water out into the wetlands, or have we been collecting that water, sending it to the water processing plant? Because back when the spill originally occurred in 2020, our water treatment plant rejected the effluent from the basement that was being pumped out and not being put into the wetlands. I'm concerned that, you know, by owning that building, by continuing to pump effluent from an unremediated spill into the wetlands, we put our village at risk financially. You know, there's a liability there. I know that citizen advocate, the previous owner of the building, is responsible for completing the cleanup, but we're not helping if we are continuing to pump water into the wetlands. That's the simple point. And I would like to ask if there's an answer right now. How is that cleanup coming along? How's the testing coming along? How many more months do we have to go through testing before we get a clean bill of health on that property? Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Just real quick. I'm Amy Catania. I'm with Historic Saranac Lake, and I'm actually on the agenda in a minute, but I'm not here to talk about that. I just want to thank Trustee White for her proposal. I think we're in an era where we're on two separate sides and there's not a lot of talk in the middle. So I just want to talk to the middle, which is, you know, I don't know if we can convince people to, I don't know if I can convince people to see immigration the way I see it. But I do think that if you're a person representing our village as an elected official, you're here to do the right thing, what you believe is the right thing. And so I would just ask you to do what you think is right, not what you think the federal government is expecting you to do. Because that right now is two different things. And we have an opportunity to do the right thing. And I appreciate that Trustee White has worked with our police chief to come up with a proposal that he believes will work for our village. I think we need to listen to that. And I hope you'll do the right thing. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Francesca McClure. I'm a resident of Saranac Lake. And I want to echo some of the support that other people have offered about the Trustee White's bill. Saranac Lake should be a place that everybody feels welcome, that people feel safe on our streets. And frankly, right now, the police, and particularly in their support device, has in other places does not make people feel safe. And it's really scary to think about our friends and our coworkers being disappeared off the streets. I don't know if this is maybe a question about general town process, but I'm just curious how this would be implemented if it goes forward, like what the next steps would be.
Been working with the police chief.
Yeah.
This is in alignment with what they are currently doing. And so they would, if somebody approached them for help, they would not be asking about immigration status, and they would let the feds do their business. And then, of course, if there is a crime, that's a different story. You know, if there is a crime in our jurisdiction, then the police take care of it, as they always have. Our police force is amazing. So it helps maintain the good relationship that they have built with the people.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, please.
If you can't understand me, I apologize. I have vocal cord disorder. So my name is Kim Bickford. I was born and raised in Saranac Lake. And I have some notes and stuff that I'd like to refer to. I'm very nervous. So the first thing is that I don't support your resolution. And I feel that the police have the laws, they know what they are, and we should enforce the laws that are on the books. For 4 years, our borders have been wide open. We have undocumented people, good people, and bad people that have crossed into our country. We don't know where those people are. Some could be here, some may not. We could have a combination of both, good and bad. I support the laws coming to our country legally. We have laws for immigrants to come here legally. That's what I support. I don't support people coming here illegally. I also have a concern over the financial burden it would put on our county, Franklin County. We have a very high poverty level in our county. Our resources are maxed after COVID. And an additional burden could be put on those resources because illegals that have come in need emergency services or public assistance. And I don't see how we can continue to support that. I also have concern with it jeopardizing federal grant money for the county, for the county. And I'm trying to understand what you're putting together. And I think it was the last sentence of your proposal. And I wanted to know, you don't have to answer this right now, but if ICE was to come, and I think our police should work with ICE. But if there was a valid judicial warrant, if someone committed a crime in our town or county, and they were arrested by local police, how would the police be able to determine if there is a valid judicial warrant? You don't have to answer that right now, but that's for people that are.
You want me to answer that? So this does not stifle the police in addressing criminal activity. This also does not. This is any immigration status that includes people who are here illegally, who are here on the path to citizenship, who are here on visas for work, visas for marriage. Immigration comes in all shapes and sizes. And the police, this resolution, and working with the police chief, this resolution does not violate any laws. They would be abiding by the laws of our area, and they would be letting the feds do what they're supposed to do.
So they would continue to work with ICE.
We currently are not working necessarily with ICE. If there's a criminal aspect,
right?
If there's a criminal aspect, then that's different than what we're talking about. If there's a crime involved where they've done something heinous or they've done something, then that's a different set of rules that apply to a criminal. It's not this one.
And I also, there are some really bad people that are in our country right now that really want to cause harm. I mean, you look at there's 4 high profile cases, right? New York City being a sanctuary city has caused a lot of harm, I believe. Our police force has been, I think, poorly treated. I think they're being treated better now. They're getting more support under the current administration. But I think we also need to look out for the safety of the children, to protect the children from people that are here from other countries and people that have already committed crimes in our state. There's serious crimes that have been committed. There's been rapes, there's been murders. The woman on the subway was burned alive. We have good people and bad people. Just come legally, but please let the police do their job and work with them. The situation should arise in our area.
And this is completely in alignment with their policies.
And again, the financial thing. I don't want it to jeopardize the federal funding that's being received because we are a very rural area, and I don't want to see it put a burden on our healthcare and our doctors and our systems in that manner for people that are underinsured and are using emergency rooms or urgent care. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm also in agreement to Trustee White's agreement. I have been doing a little work because my husband works over in Lake Placid as well. So Lake Placid is a different community, obviously, but they also have made an agreement similar to what Trustee White is trying to do here. Lake Placid to open takes 1,000 J1s for them to open their doors every day. We aren't at that point yet in Saranac Lake, but you do know that there's a lot of places looking for good workers, but we haven't had them here. I think one of the things we could look at is seeing what Lake Placid has done too to make their people feel safe over there, because they also were not feeling safe. I do know of an incident here in Saranac Lake where we had 2 women that were going down to Grand Union. They both had hijabs on, and they were going down to Grand Union together because they felt unsafe. So they were going together, and they had people who were harassing them all the way back. And they now are getting their groceries different ways because they do not feel safe to walk from the center of our town to the Grand Union. That's not right. And yes, there are criminals out there, and we're not talking about criminals here. We're talking about people who, there are some people who had a status that was taken away, like they had their status and then they're waiting their times. And then the laws were changed suddenly by our president, who changed it so that they may have had a 2-year, they're under 2 years. So if they're under 2 years, they don't have protections. And our Constitution says that everyone here, whether they are a citizen or not, is due process. And I feel that in our small town, people need to feel safe. I do agree with that. But also our people who are here, they pay taxes. They are filling holes in our society that no one else wants to do. And I think we need to consider that as well. But I will say, you know, maybe talk to Lake Placid and their police officers over there. They've come to an agreement over there as well with their village. And they don't, if it's a criminal act, yes, they will interact with ICE. But otherwise, they're letting the federal government do their job. And they're doing their job of community policing, which they've done such a great job here with getting the kids so the kids are not afraid of them. And we're losing that with some of our kids and some of our community members. And I think that's sad for Saranac Lake. I grew up here. We weren't afraid of the police.
Anyone else? Okay. Moving on to items of board action tonight. Can I please have a motion authorizing the acceptance of the Franklin County Experiential Tourism Grant for the purchase of fire?
I'll speak to it, I guess. I do like that we're finding purpose for that work, right? Because I think we made some mistakes with that park. I think it's pretty clear set. But we're finding purpose, one that will draw visitors. Of course, my only hangups really are price point, right? I do like to talk about the the possibility of a sidewalk coming in, or like we're gonna need a crane to get that up there, I would assume, right? Yeah. That being said, I personally will vote yes on this. I don't think I think it's good to have, even if we don't have the legs, we can keep it on the ground. But I think it's a very cool, unique thing. I think the safety features are being thought out, and that's something to work with. I wouldn't support putting any more money towards it until we have a more solid plan in place. That being said, these advisory boards have unanimously voted this as their project. I think that's important because, to be honest, I couldn't tell you what would look good up there, but having all three all work together, say we want this one goal is very cool, and I think it shows great initiative.
I think everything I heard about this fire tower made me more excited about the possibility of fire tower in this area. I still can't get my head around it. I was on the original design committee. I watched the work together. There's been some good aspects. There's been dismissals. I just don't think that application is the right spot for the fire. Let's take away from it. It's done. The advisory boards spoke with Rick yesterday. I think it's on the right track for a fire tower somewhere. I just don't think.
concerns with, from the process standpoint. I also spoke with her. We're using village taxpayer money to spend on a project that hasn't gone through the proper process and has not taken the steps to have public input to do any of the environmental studies if those are needed, to look at the other costs associated with it. We should not be piecemealing the project. That's something that is definitely discouraged, and we talked about that with the emergency services facility, that we really need to have we need to follow the proper process. There is trust in the process. There are reasons that we go through that process to take care of the roadblocks, and that we are spending our taxpayers' money responsibly. I think that accepting this grant will put us on a course, a financial course of spending more taxpayer money. I think this is the cart before the horse.
I think so too at this point. I've given this project a lot of thought and have been involved in discussions. As Kirk and I talked about since 2018. So the idea of a fire tower in Saranac Lake is very cool. I don't know how I feel about that location, or if it is another location, or how much we're willing to spend on it. And there's too many unanswered questions at this point.
And I wonder, with the scale of the project, the potential cost of the project. I mean, right now, we've already heard a number of things that were included, but sitting at $60,000 and the length of time that it will take to complete this project isn't more along the lines of the capital budget and should be following those rules as opposed to what's happening.
Well, for myself, it's taken me 3 years plus to truly understand all the good and volunteer efforts that come out of downtown advisory board, Parks and Trips advisory board, and Parks and Culture advisory board. Honestly, the advisory boards increase our bandwidth as a village. We don't really have staff to run every project. But it's been great for many, many years. We intentionally put board members on each of those advisory boards as next physical link to the village. So my one point that I'd like to make is I feel that it's an awful shame to have this come this far, to have grant money offered free of charge to the village, and all of our advisory boards unanimously support the effort. Especially when Rory, your architect, ex officio, and Kelly, you're our downtown advisory ex officio, and we're part of the community group, which is comprised of 2 members from each one of those. So I think before countless engineering surveys were done and grant applications and emails and meetings in person and to not raise a concern prior to tonight is a little disheartening for folks who give so much of their time, which is so yeah, I am a little disappointed none of this happened in a vacuum. It's been talked about since before any of us were on the board. Yeah, we've got what those 3 groups support. So we're gonna take this to a vote, but I apologize.
I would caution with unanimously, because I have talked to board members that were not necessarily in agreement with this, or the question was posed in a way that they would support the project, but it was not like, if there was something else we could do, would you support that over this? There is a process to this, and I looked back based on our last meeting at the grants that we have gone after in previous years since you've been on, because you mentioned it was just during your term, and looked at the various resolutions that have come before this board before applying for a grant. To
And
say,
we've
to
talked
say
about
that.
this. Go ahead.
Some introduced by yourself to say that we would like to apply for this grant in support of this project that has already been approved. That was recommended by the advisory board. We cannot just spend taxpayer money, and this is not just about the grant, there is a match associated with it. We
And that
cannot
match
spend,
was
we cannot
budgeted
spend
to
taxpayer money
For
with,
Lumber Park.
we cannot spend taxpayer money without going through the proper process. And we are not supposed to piecemeal a project. We are not supposed to do it in pieces. We should have the full financial obligation of the project before we commit to it. That's our responsibility as a board. And whether personally we want the fire tower or not, we need to represent the village.
This resolution, just so we're all aware, is accepting the grant to buy the fire tower. As Kurt mentioned, that doesn't mean all details are worked out tonight. Doesn't mean it goes in the fall. We can let it sit at Dave's house until we have the funding to put it up.
Like I said, we're not supposed to piecemeal. We're not in the business of making money. If we purchased it, it's not like just saying, well, we can sell it for more, that's okay.
That's not what I'm.
And then also, there's purchasing policies that fall in place that need to be followed. There's language on the invoice about a non-refundable deposit. That is not something we're supposed to do based on the comptroller's office and the financial.
This is the purchase.
It is the purchase of, but it also mentions on the invoice a non-refundable $10,000 deposit.
If we don't purchase. So, yeah, it's good then.
Absolutely. It could have come forth as, just like the Restore New York grant, as, do they have permission to do the project? Do they have permission to apply for the grant?
There's no permission required, just for everybody in the room to apply for any grant. Expertise for any and all lines cast in the water to get money from Saranac Lake. The only resolutions for grant applications are those where the application itself requires a resolution from the village board. The village board is responsible for resolutions that create liability onto the village for financial expenditure. So, I guess.
So if you go back, oh, I'm sorry, are you done? I need to wait. My husband tells me I need to wait 8 seconds to make sure that I'm not going to have someone. So are you?
Go ahead.
So going back, I went back to January 23rd and looked at the process that we should be following and that we have followed on other projects. And it starts with, does the community development director have the permission to submit a grant? And then later, it has to accept a grant. And that has been on your tender. And if you go from January 23rd to now, there are several
They
cases
do
like
not
that.
need a resolution to apply for a grant. When we accept a grant, it does provide a legally binding contract, which we have to sign as a village, and that's the point where the village.
So when we decided that that was a change,
That's
because
when
those are
it's been.
resolutions that you actually sponsored.
So let me give you an example. 5 lines down on this very agenda, we're gonna accept $15,000 your state justice assistance grant. Those are applied for by our chief of police. In the last 3 years, he has applied and got about $400,000 for the village secretary. How many of those came before the village board?
Does that
Zero.
require a grant, or does that require a village match?
Some of them, I'm sure, did. I haven't dug into the $400,000 applied for last year. Nor have I, gone and researched every single one for, our county smart communities.
And do we get a update from the police chief every single month, which is awesome, like clockwork, that tells us what their department has done?
Aurora. None of this is happening out much publicly. Years ago, long before you were on the board, long before I was on the board, they were talking about the fire tower. As I said, you guys would be expeditious. If there was a problem with this project, should have brought it to the board, because now we've got.
That's not how it was presented to PTAP. I don't know what other members of PTAP feel, but the way that it was presented at the meeting that I was at was that Katrina announced that we had, I'm sorry, I shouldn't use her name. The community development director announced that they had received a grant from Franklin County. And so now they believe LEAF would accept a grant that they previously denied, that they were going over multiple other grants, which Kirk did put in his slideshow, and that the village would match the grants. That was prior to us even discussing it.
So 1 year ago, we as the board allocated $10,000 for the improvement of that specific park to the community enhancement group. And now they want to use their $10,000 to make the match for the $10,000 grant. And we're telling them no.
Yeah, because that's not the full project cost. We don't piecemeal. We need to understand the tax implications to our community before we spend taxpayer funds,
Well,
whether it is for 60,000, a change 90,000 now, or a $27.5 million building.
So
We have to understand the tax
let's
implications.
talk about this. Let me ask the question. Are the people on the board comfortable with the project that's fully funded by grant monies? Minus our $10,000 match to purchase the tower?
I would have to see the whole project laid out. I told her, this may be a different conversation if we were looking at the project first and then the grant money, but that's not how it worked. Do we still have the opportunity to do that? Absolutely. Absolutely. They could come back with a proposal that we then support, then we then go after money for it. But that's not what we're doing. There is no reason Kirk can't come back, or not necessarily Kirk, the whole community enhancement fund. The members that are on that team can come back and talk to us about their recommendation at the next meeting.
Gary was here last week saying the same exact things.
No, he made one comment, but either way, the resolution is to accept money for a project that we didn't approve. And that can be corrected. Like I said, I'm not saying I'm against the fire tower. I would have to see the details and have public input before I did that. But I am against and have championed that we should not be following in proper practice.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Okay, may I please have a motion authorizing the village manager to hire any equipment upgrade?
I will make that motion.
Second.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
May I please have a motion to approve and endorse historic Saranac Lake application for a 2025 New York Street, New York State Main Street downtown Englewood.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
May I please have a motion with discussion to support the funding for the Arrowhead Nature Festival for people with disabilities?
I'll take that motion with discussion.
I will second.
All right, so, for anybody who doesn't know, we have recently, mostly through trustee Ryan's efforts, a very detailed look at accessibility in Saranac Lake. We've made improvements to the beach for accessibility this year with, permanent, accessibility next and following. We contracted, to have a study of all of our public parks and improve those. My one issue with this is that folks in the past, we were asked to sponsor the World Snowshoe Championships at the end. And problem was we just had never funded things outside of Saranac Lake. And it was a sticking point for that. So while I support 100% the festival, can't think of any other events that we subsidize outside of those. So I guess we can talk about that.
Do you remember how much the snowshoe they were asking for? I can't remember exactly.
I don't remember. It wasn't exorbitant. I feel like it was around 2,000 or so.
So I'm certainly in favor of this. I do understand this is not in, our village per se, but there's no doubt about it that this is a Saranac Lake event, right? So anyone who grows up outside of village limits, Saranac Lake is the hub, right? And we can take a look at that, right? If we look at the sponsors, Accessible Adirondack Tourism, Hotel Saranac, Scott's Florist, Can-Am Rugby, Adirondack Bank, Adirondack Diversity Initiative, Adirondack Health, Adirondack Website Design and Roofs, who we partnered with in order to make this a Saranac Lake thing. You know, this is an opportunity for us to lay the groundwork, right? And as we make these positive changes in our village, start moving some of that over here, right? So this is not just about this year. This is about looking far down the road. You know, the potential is unlimited. You know, if we can help people explore the Adirondacks and put money back into our tax base, let's be honest, that's you know, that there's different tiers to sponsorship, right? So the 2,000 is, we have a banner, public recognition. We have Village of Saranac Lake posted on the website. And all local materials will have Saranac Lake on this. So this, while not on village property, this is a historic, unique, and needed event that is Saranac Lake.
I'm in agreement with Jimmy or Mayor Williams, and I really wanted them to say last week that there was a connection for an event in Saranac Lake or somehow transporting our residents out there, but with not seeing the connection. I agree that I don't think that we should be supporting. The other question that I had or the other concerns that I had is on the website, we do have a form for requesting funds and ask for some information, detailed information on expenses and events and things like that, and we're not using that. Is there a reason why we're not using, or I guess not necessarily that we're not using it, but we haven't seen one of those for some of these requests for funds, and it would be nice to have that so that we do have more information and potentially what the connection is, or.
I think a lot of people are unaware that there's a form online. Okay. And their first stop is.
It's good information to have when they are requesting funds in support of that. Maybe it's something that we help would be repurposed to use for when we're looking at how to use the cannabis funds or is it a finance process?
Would you be open to getting that?
So that was part of my 2 points I wanted to make. One is the person at Adirondack Health that sponsors events. You know, we fully support this event. It's great. We have health locations like Placid, Upper Lake, Saranac Lake, and Falls. So we have a slight difference between that's Falls and Falls Smiths. It's a great event, but if I found my village board hat, I'm thinking about giving twice as much as Adirondack Health gave, but it's not in the village of Saranac Lake. I just leave it there. But I would be interested in perhaps a smaller donation. I think that, you know, if they were to go to town St. Clara, the town of Brighton area, it's down in Saranac Lake, and say, if you guys want to get funded to help teach, that would make a lot more sense to me. $1,000 is a regional effort of the municipalities to support an event that by all accounts is fantastic. I think 2016 for the municipality, which the event is not.
Understand that.
And my second point briefly was just that I think we should look at not tonight at tightening up the process for these again. Track for a while. I know we drift and weed and bond, we sometimes get away from it, but this isn't the first request and it's not going to be the last request. And the budget season is a long way, so I think we should look at some policy.
So what with that $500 mark? Is that what?
Yeah, I don't know if that would help them on its own, but maybe we contingent on the communities, you know, keeping in mind $100 too to get them to 2,000. I'd be supportive of that. Or
I mean, I think that $500 will get us some great advertising opportunities for Saranac Lake. So, working with Roost, and that could be a double win there. I think that- I don't think so. I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts.
Amanda, can I ask you, was the application useful? Do you remember a lot of people through that? I don't remember if they submitted the application and the correct information. Did it still come to the village board to get a threshold where staff? Yes.
Very useful pieces. I made a discussion here, and I said 3 different stipulations in 2 different ones. So,
And they haven't changed their position on allocating money specifically.
this year people independently apply, municipalities can apply on their own behalf. Other entities have to apply on their own. Nick, have you guys applied to, Young?
We actually went to the Franklin County Board meeting just preceding this one. We informed our board that unfortunately they don't consider any of these funding requests outside of their annual budget. So we will now have to wait until December to apply for 2020. That applies, I think, to many other towns.
How about the regional tourism, the spring occupancy tax, they have the tax. Yeah, I think they meet quarterly or more.
They actually, well, they have grant programs that cycle sort of every 4 to 6 months. And there are different types of grants for different types of events, happenings, concepts, if you will. DCM program, we did receive, we haven't had a cash yet, it's a matching grant for $5,000, which we can easily spend, and then at that point we get that $10,000 match. So we get that $5,000, we spend that $5,000, we spend on $10,000. There is substantial interest in their office because they realize the regional effect of this. To address some questions, we look at Brighton, we look at other municipalities that dot our way up to Paul Smith's, right? How many hotels between now and there?
Between here and Paul Smith's?
No, between here, I mean between the village line and Paul Smith's.
Review any?
I don't know any. And that means that Saranac Lake is actually the heads and beds hub for people with disabilities. You know that last year, Kimberly Whitley, New York State's chief disability officer, was our keynote speaker. She stayed at Hotel Saranac. Legal Higgins, the head of the DEC's APA DEC advisory committee, and Steve White, accessibility coordinator, our keynote speaker this year, is staying in Hotel Saranac. These events directly relate to tourism right here. We are, measurably, if you're coming from the south, the only and best stop for everyone. If you're coming from the north, true, it is Malone, but I'm not to Malone yet. But really, it does affect Saranac Lake tremendously. I mean, just look at the demographics, look at the tribe.
You guys have a budget you can submit in detail.
I would be happy to, we do.
And so could you potentially look at the form that we have to see?
I would love to. I didn't know it existed. Actually.
Because it would be nice to have the
I
context.
don't want to submit the form if you would like to table this until the next board meeting. Perhaps I can give you more information for consideration. Because right now, I think you're getting a complete picture of it. Or that you don't have the financials that you need to make a problem. All right, you want to make a full choice. Give us the opportunity to do that.
I'm just basing it on what was presented.
Of course.
So if we, I mean, even if we have a marketing plan or something that, you know, if we have the budget and what it's costing to put on that would.
If you're willing to consider it, I'm willing to do that. Then we'll push it off. If not, like, but do you have any indication of growth this year compared to last year?
We are offering approximately 45% more programming than in year one. I have a full program list. It's not public yet, but I can submit that to you if you'd like to show you actually what we're doing. Yeah, I'd be happy to, of course.
I think that would be great. I think tabling it, considering that is a good option.
I'd be grateful.
I'll make that motion to table. And you automatically put it on next agenda.
And would you mind saying a little more about what the applicants?
Just briefly. I think you nailed it. Well, sorry. You know, Gabriel's Lake Clear. And I recognize that. But controlling tax dollars from, I would love to sponsor Fireman's Field Day or a war memorial or an event or, you know, a fishing tournament. It's just that it is so to set precedent. It's gonna be hard to tell other people.
Yeah, and I do understand that and I recognize that. And hopefully we get some numbers on just how much this brings into our village, to show that it does.
I can work on that. I'd like to mention one last thing. As you know, Accessible Add-on Tourism has been providing ADA compliance assessments for the entirety of the village parks. But I'd like to tell the public something. Do you realize since these assessments began that this village board proactively put in accessible restrooms, an accessible wash station, an accessible changing station, an accessible mat that goes to the beach and an accessible beach chair? You are moving forward with accessibility, and I don't see one reason why Saranac Lake can't be the accessible capital of the Adirondacks. Thank you. Thanks, folks.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, sir.
At least I have a motion to accept a $15,000 New York State Justice Assistance Grant for law enforcement. That motion.
I'll second that motion. Yes.
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 Yes. And please have a motion to make our Arbor Day proclamation.
I'll second that motion. So, with discussion, sorry. We established the tree committee a while ago, are they treating anything? Okay.
You find a tree.
Yeah, that'd be great. Tie those together. I am gonna admit that I have no idea what that is. And
First one's that.
I can't keep the house.
Second one is very similar to this. Yes.
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 Okay, we have a motion to support funding of Saranac Lake 3D racing.
Just kind of a carry on from the last conversation, I still think we need to tighten the process. The hospital also sponsors the 3D event. We love 3D. We have some time on it, right? It's in like early spring. It's terrible. Water. So it's only July. I feel like we have some time to get our process in order. And based on what we just discussed, the disability grant, I would be in favor of taking this for the time being.
I think they also have some in-kind service that we provide them. It would be nice. I'm not sure who's in charge of the 3D, but it would be nice to get the information of how we can support that.
Is that part of the application? I'd like to say, ask those questions, I guess. Having the process is great, so, yeah. Being able to turn around and send the application to.
Oh, Scott's.
He was here. I guess he had to leave.
And we are still having, we do still have the plan to kind of solidify how we use the cannabis funds.
So what?
Have a plan to decide how to use the cannabis funds to support the community. as opposed to taxpayer funds. I think we discussed about that a few just before March.
We have talked about giving funds for kids concerned with.
So that may be a good thing to slip by.
It might be good to also set up a work session in the county and just talk about after dollars are allocated, because for 3 years of dollars, it's a year, it's hard to put our thumb on how it's gonna shake out. But I think some clear answers, we can do it first.
We're the table with staff.
I'll make that.
Roll call.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And this is a motion to authorize the transfer of unused 2025 fiscal year sidewalk budget to the sidewalk reserve.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I didn't have a dollar amount on here because we haven't closed out the year, or it's not completely closed out, but basically it would be the money that we slated for the sidewalk. So that, I'm just putting it in the sidewalk funds, that was our intention. And did I word that right for just the unused portion? Oh,
Yes. Yes.
yes.
Yes.
Yes.
And these have motion authorizing funding repairs for accessibility for police station.
I will make that motion with discussion.
I'm second that.
Okay. I'm trying to remember the building. Is there, I know we're probably the one in there to keep it, critically last. I believe there is a side entrance that's ground level, correct?
Behind the signs and say no public entry.
Okay. That's an issue.
And I
For
know
sure.
where the door is actually going up for Wilshire.
Yep. Fair enough.
So I think we can, so I looked into the lease and I think we can do it. When I did go on the tour of the building, I did have the discussion with not only the gentleman, but the police chief. And I think we could install a ramp in the front of it that is temporary in nature and that is bolted to the stairs. The stairs would also have to be fixed. I did post some pictures on Facebook that you can see the edges of the stairs are crumbling. It's not the full stairs. It's the edges where they have the metal, like a metal trim plate. And one of the metal trim plates have broken off. But when I was looking online for different options for commercial grade accessibility ramps, I found some that were priced between $2,000 and $8,000. I'm not saying we need $8,000 one, but it would be nice to be able to get them to do that before we need it, because if we wait until we need it, it's too late, right? And then also to allow the extra room is to allow for any repairs or installation that needs to happen so that can on the stairs so that ramp can be put in.
So,
and this is money from our contingency fund for 2025, which is May 31st, that is unused,
so there's gonna be some structural changes to the building. Has the state given us
There's no
yes?
structural,
No?
well, there's the trim pieces on the cement, and there's bolted, I don't, I'm not construction, but somehow bolting the ramps to get the stairs, and you have to do it at the proper incline, things like that, and that's why I think it's
So what does the state say? Like, does the state say you're good to go for it, or are they?
When I talked to the gentleman at the building, we were allowed to do it. I don't know, he's the one that takes care of the armory. And I would think the state would be for it because any building that we use for public should be accessible.
So I did speak with Joe Fisher, who runs the armory for the city of New York. And he said, honestly, this is not the typical process. So we don't have a lease that we're allowed to occupy basically until we're done. But the process is our chief and Joe Fisher identifying things change or fix and then that has to run up the chain of command with New York State to be approved. And then at that point, routine upkeep of the building is usually on the state's responsibility side, and operational improvements that we made that wouldn't be needed for their use would be on our side. So Joe did say, hey, I'm working the steps. The heat plates are coming off. I don't know this, but I have a meeting with MS Pierce in the next couple weeks. Probably going to grind off those in ambulance. And then he said, and we have always, so Joe's been up there 30 plus years at duty reserve, and then now as a civilian. Said, I would like Zach, I just spoke with him the other day, so I probably should let you know, but he said, just hold it for a minute and have code enforcement officer come up and see what we have to do to use. It's not to say that he's against a ramp, but he just has to process.
And this is not for the purchase of a ramp. This is funding to provide them to come up with a solution. I expected they're the ones to come up with the solution. I was just checking into prices to make sure we gave them sufficient funds to
For
do
the
whatever
2
is
to 8,
coming up.
right? The 2 to 8,000, which I'm honestly, I'm in support of mine. We can use that somewhere, right? Even if it's not big.
And I think it's, right now, it's gonna roll back into the general fund if we don't use it. And I think this village is committed to accessibility, and giving them funds to do this and making sure that they, whatever solution they come up with, that they can take care of. That's what this would be.
Yeah, and so I'm all for the purchase of that. Where I kind of have issues with, right, is it's going through the state. Maybe they can take care of it without us having to dip into our pockets. And then the rest of the money, you said 2 to 8. What is the rest of the money used for it at? What price point did you use to get to 20,000?
Installation. And if the stairs do need to be fixed in some way, it's a cushion so that they will be able to properly install whatever or do whatever they decide would make that front entryway to the public accessible.
But we don't know what that's gonna cost, right?
No.
Is that from a contractor or is that?
No, he looked at, so I talked to the police chief, and he actually, they were looking online at different options, and they came up with some money, or some figures for some different options they were looking at, and I was also looking at options, and then thinking about how much it would cost for work. It gave them enough money. They don't have to use all of the money, but they should be able to have what they need to make that.
I don't, like I said before, I am in full support of buying the ramp. But I feel like we're committing tax money that we don't know the full extent of where it's going, and we don't have a plan.
Yeah, and I go back to the comments of the gentleman from that spoke about disability access in Saranac Lake, and think about, this is a public facility of the village, and we are literally not making steps to prioritize accessibility of the entrance into a police station.
Absolutely.
And I'm happy, I mean, nobody's else has spoken up on where this is gonna go tonight, but I mean, my other option, if this doesn't work, is to apply for a accessibility for all grant. And how horrible is it that our own village has to apply for village funds of $5,000 to support a building in our village to do accessibility when it's our business, when it's our building.
It's not a road.
That's the thing. But like I said before, if I will work with you if you would like, I'm all for putting up a resolution to, get that temporary structure, and we can create access where there seems to be lacking. Like I haven't been in that side door, so I don't know if you said it's probably a little too.
It's behind a fence, and it says do not cross
Right,
this.
So we can't have that.
It's already behind the fence.
So we need to change that sign then, if people are allowed.
Yeah, you don't stop on the driveway. You have
But-
to go behind the fence.
So I stop, I pull up to the front door in the driveway, I actually follow the signs that say do not cross this point, especially since it's a police facility.
So we definitely, I mean, I'm with you on that, but I think we need clarification. I'm sorry, not clarification. Like I said, I will happily co-sponsor a bill to get a ramp for you. I think everything else should probably wait until we hear back from the state that we need to pay for it. That's just where I'm at.
And I'd like to, I don't think we should be the ones that determine the solution. I think we should be able to give the police department the funds to enable them to find the solution and have it properly installed.
Well, it sounded like Jenny said there was a process for talking with Joe. Is Chief Barati fully authorized to see that process through?
Oh, 100%. Those guys are working very well together.
Yes,
They're beyond cooperative with one another. It's a great relationship. As I said, you know, the mention process a few times. They identify stuff. They run it through the chain of command, and there's somewhere in there is a contract or at least an estimate for us to make their decisions on after they decide who. So you know, I would have thought to Joe Fisher, and staff, he would go up and see what the measurement is on the side that they've used in the past. He did say there was like a 2-inch lip. He said each foot, so 2 foot right there, we would have accessibility. And then working on the steps.
I wouldn't mind paying for temporary improvements. I have a building, you know. I just think that, you know, we don't know the building, the state does, we don't have these, just working through that change. This is best, but they work in building.
I agree, and Chief, I think, is very supportive of accessibility.
Yes, I've spoken to them many times.
Or would you be happy to amend the resolution and go forward for a temporary?
That would be fine. You know, the ramps that I was looking at were between 2 and 8. The ramps that he was looking at internally, I think we're running that range as well. And then the installation has to be proper. I don't think that the police department needs to be installing the ramp. I don't know what that costs. So we can lower the amount.
I kind of feel like we've gone around in a circle, right? So my point is not that we should get rid of it. My point is that the person who controls the building, or our chief, has asked for us to hold. That one person wants to check site or assess where we're at in terms of accessibility. So it's not, okay, we're gonna put it in the ramp for a lower amount. That's even that has to be authorized.
So I've actually talked to the chief about that solution and also talked to him about the money that I was going to represent for the solution. So I have talked to him about that. When I went on the tour of the building, he actually recommended a ramp. But, you know, I think that as a village, we should make it a priority and give them the funding to do that. So that when someone needs to get to the police station, they certainly can, without guessing whether or not they need to go behind the security fence.
So, I think we should think about our village offices. We're gonna make changes to this. That's the same thing that we have, same scenario we have. Everything we want to do that has to.
Which it sounds like they're working on, right? They're working on what the solution is. So
Joe,
providing them
Chief
funds.
has been working on it, and when they find, the one, Joe, as I said, Joe lets know what qualifications are all side door accessible. So, that you would stop up sometime, I can share Joe's number with you. And we'll just indicate that I don't understand what we have to be accessible, maybe it's a no-go, go up front, but ultimately we need to put proposals through. So, I would make a motion to table this.
Or would you like to motion to table, go through with it, or amend it to get that ramp?
I
Like I said, I'm
would
in full favor of the ramp.
I would like
We
to
can
go
use that
through,
somewhere, even if we can't.
if we don't earmark the money for that project, when we close out the year, that money goes back into the general. So this would earmark it for a particular purpose. If we want to amend the amount, that's fine. If the resolution is not passed, then I'll be dropping the motion to the floor right now for permission to apply for the accessibility for everyone grant.
I don't even know if I can do that. So you have to check it.
I'll look at that one.
But I will say, because we're getting into the weeds on this, I spoke to Chief when this came up on the resolution. I said, "Chief, what's your thoughts on this?" He said, "It's all about a joke." I talked to her very shortly. She said, "I found it." I said, "I found it's $1,800. She said, "Okay, I'm gonna ask for $5,000. Now we're at 20.
Yeah.
And we still haven't done.
Because I don't know how much installation is.
Right, but I mean, when we talk about process.
If you,
You're
so
right,
would you
money is
feel,
about-
would you feel comfortable allocating $5,000, the same amount that people give businesses within the village for accessibility?
No, what I'm saying is, there's someone who's controlling that building, just like here, and it's not replaced until.
Then we never should have moved our police station to a building that is not accessible to the public. That is providing service to village residents is the very nature of the police department. And you are automatically excluding people from going in that building.
We could amend it to say upon approval.
Right, like moving from New York State,
That would be great.
going through Joe's process.
Yes.
Grant with, right, and even if we wanna do 8 to cover that installation if we need it, but I think the rest of it.
If they're gonna
we
cover the
certainly need to
steps,
wait on.
if they are gonna fix the steps, then I'm comfortable lowering it because the steps are what's gonna be a very expensive.
But yeah, we don't know that yet.
Yeah. So
Right,
we
once
can-
we do know whether it's a yes or a no, then we can revisit.
I'm happy lowering it to 8. So I'll make the
For the
amendment.
specific purpose of a rate,
What was that?
for the specific purpose of a rate.
And installation.
We're going to.
Can't guarantee installation though, because we need to.
Yeah, and we're allocating $8,000 from the chief. So what we got is telephone fee, and I'd like to get Chief and Joe here. They're okay with it. So, I propose the table, can I get a second on that?
Table for what, speech over?
It was Chief here, yes. Or, you know, I can ask Joe. Explain the process.
But it's not.
He also asked that prior to any action, code enforcement officer verify that the people closer to the park.
I need to get an application service for that purpose, like something like that. So I can find the table. Provided that we can jobs, which you talk about.
At that point, we need to change the security of the building and ask for the fences and the signs to be changed, which would also be an expense, so that people know that that is a door that they can come in with. If they do go through that door, they are bypassing the security that is in the front lobby, so that would, we need to make sure that they're addressing that as well. So. Excuse me?
Oh, I said there's no lobby area.
Right, it enters, the side door enters right into the station, right at the station. When you go in, there is a stairway to the left that goes up to the chief's office. And if you go straight forward, I think there's some garages on the right before you even get to Julie's office, which she is usually the person who makes sure that people get into the building.
Yeah, I think pending the code enforcement, look up there and get that information back to the board and get the chief and Joe here, I would think that would second motion to take to the next meeting. Yes. Yes.
Yes. No, because I think it sends a bad message that accessibility is not important to the village nor residents.
Yes. Okay, bill number 88, and please have a motion for safeguarding our residents and our financial resources.
It seems to make sense. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, let's start. I think, Aaron probably not use any content, that article paper that was slightly different from reality. So I said, Chief, let's Friday, Chief, as the person in charge of our police department, I really need to hear what you have to say about this. And so he wrote this, he read tonight. Dear Mayor Williams, Manager C. Lowry, and honorable members of the Village of Saranac Lake Board of Trustees. I am ready to address the proposed resolution by Trustee Aurora White regarding the Saranac Lake Police Department's cooperation with federal authorities on matters related to immigration enforcement. I would like to take this opportunity to provide clarity and assurance on our department's stance and practices. First and foremost, I want to emphasize that there is not an issue we are currently facing in our community. As a matter of routine police business, we do not question the legal status of individuals we come in contact with. Our primary focus is on ensuring public safety, building trust, and fostering positive relationships with the community we serve. However, I want to reaffirm that the Saranac Lake Police Department will continue to enforce all laws, including those related to immigration, as we have always done. We will cooperate with our federal partners, as is our duty, to ensure the safety and security of our community. This cooperation is essential in maintaining the trust and confidence of our citizens and community safe. I want to assure the Board of Trustees and the community that our department's policies and procedures are guided by principles of fairness, equity, and respect for all individuals, regardless of their immigration status. We are committed to providing professional and unbiased law enforcement services to everyone without exception. I appreciate Trustee White's proposal and the opportunity to address this matter. I hope the statement provides a good insurance community. The Saranac Lake Police Department is committed to upholding the law, protecting public safety, and serving our community with integrity and compassion. Thank you for your attention. Sincerely, Chief Aaron Rod. So, we heard from a lot of passionate folks tonight, which I understand. I don't know if there's plethora of valid points. Deciding which laws to enforce. If we don't like laws, we have to need to change those laws. We can't start selecting from laws that want which one. Many other topics we see. There will be a next time. There will be something else. Chief feels strongly that he will cooperate with federal asked to. Chief would never partake in anything with official documentation. No run through Saranac Lake.
I'm sorry, can you make that like last time we got any sentence? There's a promise to.
There's not going to be good. And I hope folks can understand that. I have nothing but love for the folks in the United States who were found alone. There were more illegal border crossings last year on our region's border than the last 17 years combined. And it has turned into some issues in St. Lawrence County, stress, some services in ultimately, as I said, if we focus on we want to change federal law, they need to make efforts to change federal law. It's not in the budget board. So that is chief stance and my own stance.
So I don't read anything in this letter from the chief that says that resolution is breaking any law or suggesting that we change any laws. It's approaching police work unbiasedly, which they already do. And then also, I don't say in that to obstruct federal laws either. I think if you would read it, I think a lot of people read the article and immediately think of illegal immigration and illegal immigrants. And there are so many different flavors of an immigrant in this country. There are people here who on work visas. There are people here that don't want to give up their citizenships in their country, but they are married to someone from this one. And so they are on a visa. There are some people here that are on a path to citizenship that they came here legally and they have to file so many tax returns and go to so many appointments before they're considered. This resolution addresses those people as well. It's, if you read the resolution, nowhere in there does it say illegal. I read the information on sanctuary cities, and you'll notice that in this resolution, there is nothing about obstructing the federal government. Per the chief's recommendation and the goal of this resolution to make our residents feel safe, I took out the legalese, which Matt recommended, that was in reference to the type of warrants that the police chief gets. And he did promise me, and we have a discussion, that whatever is required by the law, he would do. So if he got a judicial warrant to arrest somebody, he would pursue it. If there was a criminal offense, he would abide by all laws. This is to help people feel safe to move about our community. Not necessarily. I think when people just assume that an immigrant is illegal or undocumented is incorrect.
You mentioned that, I mean.
Yes, you mentioned it.
You go continue to enforce all laws, including those related to immigration.
And that is exactly what is in this resolution. Exact sentiment. And that's why we took out the legalese that Matt was concerned about. That's why I talked to the police chief and made sure that it addressed your concerns that I was trying to tell them how to police. This is in full alignment with their chapter on biased policing. And I believe it's chapter 6 in their current manual. And we did not feel that the legalese or the judicial warrants went necessarily to the community feeling safe, because a lot of people were confused by that. That's why it says that our funds will be used for the local police to do their job and not the job of federal agents. And the police chief assured me that they would be following all laws in order to do that. And so, yes, I think this letter is exactly what we talked about. That he would enforce the laws, supported the relations with the community, and also reinforcing the idea that we are a safe community for you and our law-abiding residents.
I think the line that jumped out to me most in this letter was when the chief says, "I want to emphasize this is not an issue we're currently facing in our community." Chief is, I think, something of a worker. I don't think that's ever been a department that had considerable issues of morale, going back to what's is what matches. And he continues to do so, and right now he has the federal government telling him, he has the state government telling him, I'm paying the village government to try and split the difference for something that's not an issue, as he says in his letter to us. So, you know, I'm with Aurora still on all of the expressions of love for immigrants. When I was 18, I moved to California, and some of my favorite people I ever worked with were not. This is not an issue we currently have in this village. If it becomes one, we should get right back here and fix it. Right now, I'm the most much.
So this is, I agree with the sentiment of it. I don't necessarily agree with how it's come to fruition. This is already in alignment to what they are doing, correct? I mean, you said that, yeah. So then why are we not applauding that and screaming that from the roof and like saying it in a positive light? This brings a negative light to us and to our police. I think there's a lot of miscommunication. This bill itself is not turning us into a sanctuary city.
Absolutely not.
You know, I think there's a lot of miscommunication, but you know, I don't understand why we went about it that way, or even having Aaron post a front page article before the agenda started, right?
The agenda was dropped, and by the way, I submitted the resolution to all of you beforehand.
Oh, yeah, I'm not.
And I think in full transparency, I spoke to a number of members of the public who were in support of the last resolution. They asked me to resubmit it. I did everything that you guys asked me to do the last time we submitted, working with the chief, taking out the legalese. And they wanted to know when it was coming forth again. I'm not going to hide anything from the public. If I'm bringing an agenda item, I'm not going to make them than wait till Friday to get it. I did give you guys time to weigh in.
And that's appreciated.
Before I sent it to Aaron, to make sure that if there were any concerns, I could tweak the language prior to that. But having heard nothing in response from that, except conversations with Kelly, I didn't need to make any changes.
And I'm not saying you should.
So.
I just don't necessarily agree with how it's coming down. You know, I don't think.
So how would you like it to come out?
I don't think our police are stopping people, based on the characteristics of what they look like. I don't think that's happening.
That doesn't mean people in the community aren't afraid of that.
I agree, which we should be shouting from the rooftops that they should feel safe. Here's our police department, let's have a coffee, sit down, let's talk about it. I don't necessarily think, going about it this way was appropriate, but it is how it came around. I think.
I think it would go a long way for our community. I do think that the chief does a good job at making them feel safe. But I wonder if for a person in this community that didn't feel safe going up to the police officer, that's what's happening around the nation. Would you actually go up to the police chief and ask them how they were handling this? If you were in fear for losing the life that you built here when you were on a marriage visa?
So then that's up to us and the police force to set that up, right? If we know that people are scared, I don't believe it.
People shouldn't have to tell us.
I don't.
Whether or not they're.
Right, so then let's set something up to be proactive.
So we
I
have
agree.
a police interface committee. Correct. Formed, after George Floyd. And that was, specifically geared towards racism. Still have that committee. 100% anyone participate, attend, submit questions, to the interface committee and to the chief. Doesn't have to be done in person. We do it online.
Listening to the public comments is always very informative and appreciated for people that are willing to come and speak in support of this. It's not easy. I think that more than anything, it's a statement coming from me as a representative of the village and how I vote for this. And I think our police department's doing an amazing job. Yeah. I think hearing from a few people that really resonated was listening to a school board member and a parent talk about children. I mean, that really resonates with me. It's important.
Right. And a roll calls.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to old business. I was assume you tell you put on the national.
Just wanted to give an update on that. Capital Plan Task Force has completed its final draft after a year of working on that. And really want to thank them for their time and energy put into that. But I also wanted to know how you would like me to share that. Have a work session on it, send it by email. Does it do the person context around it, or
Is it too much to package up in order to get some responsible for it?
it just kind of get it down to the talking point so it doesn't go on forever, but yeah.
I think this is a great reach, right? I mean, it's all relative, but there's more
Yes.
people that do Airbnbs than somewhere else.
Right.
We could do a work session as part of one of our meetings. Because it would be nice, like, one of the things that we get from the community events and kids that. So it'd be nice to be able to sit down and talk with everybody about the community.
And so when you say work session, it's more of like they would members would pull up to the table and have a dialogue versus what Matt say was a presentation. I think they're open to any format, so.
was just kind of. Yeah, I think it would be good to read through, any questions we have, maybe send them out and then have a discussion on it, because it should really guide how we're spending taxpayer funds, correct? So yeah, so we should, I think, opportunities for questions and things like that would be great.
Email along ahead of time, but knowing that.
We'll talk about it, yeah.
Yeah. Or.
We talk about it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Wanted to give an update on that also. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, a bunch of
Good,
things.
awesome. So Colleen's a member of that and stepped it through a long way, so thank you. Just to give an update, River Park, and I have questions that I need to talk through ex officio on that task force as well, along with Scott McKim, with staff support from Katrina Bailey. Everyone's up to speed on it. I don't need to get into too many of the weeds, but the project was originally identified by the DRI, was awarded $410,000. The village later approved the company official sponsor of the project. Went through that name change to kind of like fit more with what's going to happen on the river from the Whitewater Park to the River Park. There is the village's task force, who I just mentioned, and then there is also a Friends group. And the Friends group recently completed 2 events. I can answer any questions about those. And the idea of those events are to draw some broader awareness about River Park, as well as fundraising, but the dollars raised are smaller amounts. Both events raised under $5,000, which was a great success for the River Park. And it takes a lot of events of that size to get to some construction level money. So that's where the village kind of comes in, and working up a funding kind of strategy of how to get the rest of the money that's needed. And so there is an opportunity for the village to submit a CFA application for the River Park for construction funding. CFAs are due the end of July. Katrina and Bailey offered that up as something they would take on for the River Park. So that's great. And then it gets a little bit more confusing about Tony Reynolds. I don't even involved in some of these conversations, but there are a couple existing non-existing easements that we need to get. I think maybe from 2 property owners that back up to the River Park. So securing those easements isn't necessary to apply for grant funding, but as we've seen play out before, it would be a good move to try to at least work to secure those easements before going for grant funding. And sort of just the take on are the easements between the Friends of Group or the village. And after digging into it, I really think Friends of Group is not able, it's not like a full recognized entity that's able to secure on behalf of the.
I'm sorry?
What kind of entity is this?
Well, it's a 501c3. So it's a group that basically is a bunch of whitewater enthusiasts.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I mean,
The group itself, you need representing. Questions? That vote for your minutes. It's round 4. Okay. Then I got a hold of the bills, the attorney, trying to estimate legal fees associated. And estimated up to 5. Okay. So $7,000. So it's something that I can certainly bring up to the board for discussion.
Or, I'm sorry, for an easement to do the paperwork, because I think that people are good with that, but to do the paper, to actually do the filing from the
from, Madam Clerk.
And then there's some
Is it just, is it,
survey work that needs to be done, that's where geomatics comes in.
Right.
Or the easement can be secured, and then the legal file.
so for the easement, though, it's 2,500 paperwork? And did we start easement funding from last year? The 2025 fiscal year, we had a budget line for 10,000. Yeah, for easements. So it says easement funding on here.
So again, if. Question is. On it. Or. Yeah. It's up to 3 properties that we made the, is it? It was prior to this. It's 2020.
Okay, are you looking for the creation?
No, where we took on, responsibility sponsorship.
Right, yeah, I got that right.
Yes.
Yeah. It's long. Whereas a whitewater park in the village of Saranac Lake will bring new aquatic activities to downtown and build on the village's status as a recreation destination. Whereas Adirondack Action was awarded monies through the DRI, thanks to the leadership of the now late Tom Booth. Whereas without Captain Booth's leadership and drive, Adirondack Action wishes to transfer the sponsorship to the village of Saranac Lake. Whereas the village of Saranac Lake continues to see much merit in this endeavor and wishes to see the project come to fruition with fiduciary responsibilities to its citizens and taxpayers. Then, there be it resolved that the village of Saranac Lake Board of Trustees does hereby adopt, affirm, and accept sponsorship of the DRI under the following terms and conditions. And there's 8 of them. And I think the number 1 is what sort of like gets us all confused and uneasy about this project. 1, this project will bear no construction cost to the village taxpayer. 2, this project and its design, engineering, and contract management will conform to all village and state laws. 3, this project will be environmentally sound, meeting all seeker criteria. 4, the village will not operate this resource now or in the future. No one will operate it. The village is not committed to maintain the facility and asset in the future, as it shall be designed and deemed maintenance free. Project shall not duly hinder the village insurance premium. Village resident Clyde Avenue is herewith named as the village agent and contract administration to request for proposals, bidding, equipment, the works duties. Works laws, blah, blah, blah. 8, the facility and location shall now henceforth named and titled the Tom Booth Whitewater Park.
So the main question here is whether you include easement associated costs. That is.
And also, I would say, it's a resolution that has already been changed twice. So if we're looking at covering the costs of easements to get the river park to fruition, I'm happy if people feel like that needs an amendment to this resolution, I'm happy to bring that forward as well.
Yeah. So, we've met with DC and the people who are first stuff, and I think that's how we're getting, yes, the grant. You try to write a resolution the most comprehensive and as possible. It says there will be no, so there has to be insurance. If it's not going to the taxpayer, then it's got to be in place. And when it says there will be no construction costs for the Saranac Lake taxpayer, I don't know if that was intended to be that we pay for legal work and engineering, or if construction was a comprehensive term.
And as someone that was there when this was written and voted to approve it, that was the intent, the actual construction. The same with the riverwalk and the skateboard park any legal easement makes the most sense to be tied to a village entity, not a French group if it's even allowed. So I think that in my interpretation of being part of it, that is that. And I was happy to find out the cost of the easement and the filing, the survey work was less than $10,000. So that is great news. And yeah, it's a thought. But again, open for discussion on if the board thinks it's a worthwhile cost for.
Do you guys have first amendments from the two property owners?
Scott will probably know those details, do you know?
Unless you're gonna duck out for Kintuby, but I believe that that is what he said, yes.
Such expensive. Well, because of that, everyone's on the same page, right? And what that does.
Well, I mean,
Sorry, otherwise. Yes. Triple my work because of the relicensing process. Once every 4 years, and I have a lucky one. So it's really up to the board out there.
so that's kind of where the project probably has. So, we'll be covering expenses for the first. Board to talk about the protection laws of that resolution of this board. It is inside the village. Somebody put that in there for a reason, especially to get specific as to the insurance.
Yeah, and it's specific to say fire revenues for the works.
So maybe this is a Matt Cardinal question. Maybe this is contacting somebody who for longevity.
Well, I've been around as long before the project came about, so I don't know if there's anyone with more longevity.
Jamie and I, and it's been quite a while, then I get almost 8 years, 7 years. Jamie and I spoke about this. And I just reach out and see if she. And then. I really don't think construction costs were to just be, that's hammered. We're gonna take on insurance.
That's true.
And the survey, how much was the survey? Okay, so all of it would be under the 10,000. What is the timing on this? What is the timing on, because you're closing the year? Yeah, so.
Timing was yesterday, right? Yeah, as soon as possible. Great to have these in place for reverse or something.
Well, regardless of who pays for it, get the CFA, that's wonderful. We have, with 30 days, have all the legal back and forth. Signed.
And
6 years.
Did you say that she could apply for the?
Oh, yeah, it's not required, but again, you've done this before, like Riverwalk, where you move at full speed ahead. All the information and all the expense, and it just makes it more difficult. So we do them at the same time. And I think part of it is maybe the reaffirming the village's support for the project in a resolution, where the resolution has been amended. We've already amended the name that was part of the original resolution. There's maybe other parts of it that need to be amended. Maybe it's, yeah, but I guess that's why I wanted to have this conversation, to see what everyone is thinking.
Yeah, that's kind of my condition. Yeah, we met, but I'd like to get some information.
If Katrina has the bandwidth, can we work on CFA or?
Katrina really gave that commitment to the task force on our last call.
And so what is what would be the match? And so that match would be covered by. Third party. So let's say we got $1 million, it would be 200.
Yes, we still have money left, I think around that amount left over from, right? Yeah. But the Friends group has, you know, they've just started fundraising, so they don't have a large amount.
Working with Katrina on this.
Yeah, she's been on our last few committee meetings, and we kind of were pushing for the easements, because obviously that's a big step, but also grants. And there was, I think we need a strategy as far as, there was a lot of grants thrown out there, and what can we apply for now, what'll have to wait.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we have a clear strategy yet on what's happening.
The reason I asked is because Jamie had a very lengthy process with DOS to redo the contract. And then Katrina, when she dove in at first, probably a year ago, found a whole bunch of stipulations as to what the DRI runs through. So I don't know if it's as simple as like, hey, we have it in the kitty, throw it at this other grant as a match. I think it's planning and engineering design, but we should get a legitimate answer.
I'll touch base with Katrina, because yeah, I think she has a plan. The Friends of Group is applying for one grant this cycle, committed to doing CFA, construction costs. And again, we take it from here, if we get that funding or not, and have to bring next steps.
And so, just like some of our other grants for Trudeau Village, sort of Saranac Lake, and can we sponsor this, or is it?
It's our project.
We have sponsors. We're sponsors do not incur any costs for insurance or.
The village is the one that has the contract. with the
Yes.
state, so it's our project, yeah.
But let's just call it what it is. It's a very complicated scenario, right? It's supposed to be our project. It's a strange story.
Maybe we have to spend money, right? We have to look at the cost of the project and it's something if we want to commit to doing moving forward or not.
Okay. So we're gonna check with Katrina on the uses of the existing funds. DOS. Talk to Jamie and ask her, you know, how this came about. I think it might have been. Then let's
The
circle back.
resolution came about.
Well, we're renaming it park. That was after shortly. That.
Right, it's referenced in there, but it was after APK action, no longer is able to do the project, to give it back to the village. Yeah.
So I think there's a little.
Right, yeah, and I'm happy, I'll continue doing the homework, was doing the homework, just wanted to bring it to the board and give everyone an update on where we're at with that, and sort of just test the waters of how committed this board is to the project. And if it means some funding or no funding, right, what that looks like. Yeah, that's some thought.
I don't know who asked for the STR landscape report, but.
I asked for it, and then I put it on the agenda, just saying that the report is helpful for me, and I don't know much on how much of a time period it is, but if we could get on the cycle of getting it like every 6 months. At least until, you know, we're into this STR thing pretty deep a few years in, so we can just kind of see where we're at with it.
And if there's a box report that comes out of rental state,
Right,
I think that would be fine too, they don't have to put it in the format previously.
Right.
Tax impact analysis for water and sewer capital.
So that's another one that I would love to just communicate and get some feedback on what people think of that. So, actually, really, let's call it this one. We have, in going through the capital improvement plan and learning a lot about the water and sewer capital projects, to put it just super simple terms, it's a lot of money, right? We know that our water and sewer rates haven't changed. Or decrease them, they remain flat for the past 3 years. And so I would love to kind of just project out what the impact would be of doing all of the projects that we have, doing one of the projects, to see what that would do to our water and sewer rates for the next 5 to 10 years. Yes. Yeah.
So just to look at the big picture, currently, in our whole generation, on funding, so these are sewer collection and treatment and water distribution and treatment. So what we're trying to do is to move away from the well water onto the surface water, which yes, we have some. So for the sewer side, to answer your question, the sewer side will have a better idea in September. And that's September, October time, that's when the board needs to make plans. For us moving forward. That's what.
Yes.
For the water, it's gonna be a little late, probably in the 25 or spring of 26. Some we're planning to run a pilot study. Just visited the site on Starlight, and then it's relatively new method. The water, which is supposed to be more doable, better results, and cheaper. So, the pool was amazing, learning a lot, but yeah, you have to see that that's important. Usually, the risk of late is 10%. So we have to, whether it's going to be suitable, the system suitable to it. So we have to run that pilot for the summer. That works out, then that's probably. So on the other hand, the sewer is relatively support and then great. But as I said, and also part of the project needs to possibly restructure the population rates for so that will have some changes.
Which SDA?
Of course, yeah. We want to
Yeah. So that's kind of what I was looking for.
That's what one project though.
for
Like you would give us a tax impact assessment for the one. Process, but still too early. Sounds like.
So let me change that word tax, why? So
I'm sorry.
Yeah. But all 3 projects are That concluded, yes.
And I say
three because it's a. No, I say three because it's one portion of the sewer project, which is made of the trunk line. So, one, that's one. Second part is the so the one thing that's nice is that we have continuity with SBA, you know, there's no portion. So when we read about course events, it's not. Yeah, you know what I mean? So that's not comprehensive. That is the point. Yeah, it's for water and sewer both sides. We have the same engineering team. Therefore, they will have enough knowledge to identify what's the best structure. If we need to,
Yeah, I just shared Ellie's concern that, there's not that much, so they're gonna have to go up, that's a question.
Yeah.
John, what do you think about using, our council? Fiscal advisors? Could they do something?
No, fiscal advisors are not one council, is there's beach. So that's our legal counsel. Fiscal advisors are providing very critical but relatively small service that helps the village get the reimbursements from the that's the most. Yeah.
So right now, those are total receipts. Got 17, got 5.
17, 5, water, portion 9, for 35, for so next year, hopefully, again.
So right now we're at like 31.
So the end goal for sewer is to have only 40 percent with percent. Yeah. Stuff. So we'll see. Water is a bit different because I don't have information right now. So, no more. Other than that, system. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's move on to, and I don't know if we put this on the agenda, cannabis funding program. It might be a good idea, I don't know what you think, but to put the board member who asked for this so that, we know who to ask or we can.
I think that would be amazing between Thursday afternoon and.
Well, like, maybe connecting over the weekend or not, but even as, just trying to run a meeting like every. It's just kind of. So, if we could, let's just put them groups by trustee. Board member. Cannabis funding programs that yours?
Yeah, that's something, again, that we talked about, it's just open to having a discussion about it. The town of Philadelphia has established a program that's working well. It's something that I would like to look at sort of mirroring based on their success with that. And what they prioritize in their program is youth, seniors, and recreation, right? So it's like, it's.
Actually, perfect.
Yeah.
To use it to apply most of the difference.
Yes.
So it's just.
I think the application's pretty simple.
So two points on that real quick. One of which is, I don't know if anyone has seen, but from Google's office last week, $100 million allocated to community centers, any kind of senior youth, any community center that applies. So if we have ideas, we should definitely go after that. Second thing is, I think right now, what we're talking about is a village. It's a lot of infrastructure be nice if all cannabis money was just gravy, it could be allocated to, private entities and, youth programs. But we have multi-million-dollar water sewer, we have emergency services building, we have, the infrastructure projects that we're tackling every single summer with gas, campus, and it's no pump, but, I think a forecast would be nice to understand what we can expect going forward. For until a month ago or a month and a half ago, there was only one location, and that was out by Green Meetings. And then there has since been another license granted for this month. So excuse me? Yes. So our cannabis revenue is going to increase. Additionally, there's another line in application because we are owed $303,000 currently, 3/4 of cannabis money. Tender are trying to track down through the comptroller's office, county, cannabis office, and anybody.
Because the business owners have made.
They did make it clear, and they provided receipts.
So
Yes.
it's not with them, it's with somewhere else.
Correct, somewhere in the state.
Because I'm just looking to come up with a program that can be accessible to community members in need, and that this fund, the campus fund money doesn't just roll into our general fund.
So, well, let me ask you this, right, so we have, net our tax cap for coming under it. Every year we work together, and we have not raised our sewer rates. So if we don't use campus money for infrastructure projects, general funds requires more tax revenue, then we will, Peter Paul will increase taxes, making busting our cap, so that we can give out the cannabis money. Cannabis, we can't, we're looking for electric car chargers to make a little money, or parking tickets to make a little money, or cannabis to make a little money. Anywhere possible, we're talking about towers on the top of the fire station, and we $200 a month, anything is something. So if we're talking a number like 300,000 more a year, if we short sighted, not think where that money will be required in the next.
Well, I think that's an important board level discussion, because it seems like, you've got your plans for it, but I think
There's
it's.
no plan. I don't have.
Right.
What I'm saying is, we're both 300,000 now, there will be more, both with the establishment of the business and longevity, probably at the website, and then another license.
Right.
So it's not going to be, an occupancy tax payment from the county, hey guys, this should get 50,000 to just get to whatever we want. It's gonna be stuff that we will be able to take on.
So maybe the place to start is by quantifying it, and just like launch the. It's kind of 13 or 2 million cannabis consultants that I'm sure has popped up in New York State in the last 2 years. That's, get our arms around what we can forecast the revenue of place.
And I think, I don't know if you have to allocate all of the money.
No, definitely not.
But it'd be nice to say that this percentage we're going to allocate to. These things.
Next one here.
Is that the New York Bricks?
I don't know.
I think that's the New York Bricks.
Okay, I did, the next one is mine, I did.
So to wrap up the cannabis program, I can take a stab at drafting a program similar to what the town of North Belden does. I mean, just to get that moving in some type of direction.
North Belden's tax base is completely different than ours. And I think.
Nice, basing it off.
Right, right.
But they only use a portion of it too, right? They only use a portion of it to fund.
Right, and up to grants up to $5,000. Yeah, I mean, it's.
If you start.
Right.
One suggestion is to start.
And maybe when it puts limitations is. We get paid. Supposed
I was just saying, how much you know, how many entities they collect, so their tax base, we're talking the cannabis tax, do you know how many entities? No, but this is just the cannabis.
I realize that, I just mean that there's more income in tax revenue going. So, you know, I think, quantifying months and trying to understand, hey, you know, so. It's different kind of conversation. Hey, guys, you got, you know, this. But yes, please, pass on any, draft feedback. So 2 meetings ago, told you guys that started a loan program, ABC, up to, I believe it's up to 100,000, those programs. In that, total, the fund is 150, up to 50, excuse me. Which how much remains? Just, okay. So in that language, it says that a applicant must show denial of conventional lending institutions, which basically means, as I described, it's a very lengthy process. It affects your credit score. So if our goal is to fill storefronts, maybe we take out the denial portion, see who else applies. You guys wanted me to check with ABC if that language is required, not required, it is not required. It's up to us, and so long as we'll be at discretion. Did the revenues for the is there seven things in users? Right. There's no resolution. Okay. For policy. Right. And then go through the application process. So they have budget. So in essence, if our goal is to fill storefronts, I'm really not as concerned with financial status of the applicant, like getting the storefront. And if, you know, we have a large number of applicants for because we've been going at this for about a year. A year. True. Which is. So, as the news that bring back to you guys. Taking it out of contract and be resolution. That's necessary. Language. To show.
So it sounds like AEDC, what, they're not on scale, the impact. No. It's up to you guys.
Yeah. So regardless of what I believe, I suppose it would be notice and exact. When it's only the villages, department will actually understand that village size. If the loan is AEDC still requires those, where they're trying not to use the traditional way. Therefore, that type of support traditional solution before. But again, you're right, if it's long from the village, fully, it's not to the village. But that requires things.
That is different. They said that this program.
Yeah, it's just that if it's villages, then yes, we make it. They are. The portion. There's still, well, not having a conversation. It's really good.
And is there a coverage that we have to size the first to evaluate, these loans that are funded, the steps that we ask us to do, or around the ask. I guess which policy property, our decision or AEDC's mandatory?
Well, AEDC says. Let's go with that. No, you know what, that's, administer those funds however we want. $1,000 without date rejection requirement.
So that all works. If I'm understanding it correctly, it sounds like we split the difference, right? For $100,000, it's a choice, and then merit of resolution, they have that conversations for, if it's over 50, they're gonna have to go through their steps to make sure. That seems okay to me.
I would like to keep that clause in there just because I don't think that money was intended to help just anybody. They could get, potential loans. And that's, I mean, that's the same pocket of money that I requested to do the water and sewer bridges out. It's that same pocket of money. And I think it's the intention of the original money is not, I believe the intention of the original money that we received was not to help just anybody who would qualify for conventional loan.
I don't think the original intent was to help this thing. Oh, we're not left funds. We're not open stores. So, we've had a trial period, if you will, and we're just not getting any takers. Nobody's knocking on the door. Maybe just be more Facebook posts and put stuff out there. But
we could use the fund, like the water forgiveness loan program. We could use the funds for those purposes. Okay.
So that's definitely not what I'm gauging after. You guys are setting this, then for whatever reason, I don't need to pursue. We're trying to fill storefronts.
I wouldn't say I'm completely set on the arrangement. I'd like to see us try to advertise a little bit better for it at first, and then, but like, I agree with you in the fact that we want to fill storefronts. We want to use more jobs. So
Aaron, do you know a story on this loan program? We're out there. I mean, it's a big deal. It's better interest rate than normal living institutions. I mean, I want to see more, whether it's donut shop or flower shop. Just get some people.
Can't we do, I mean, if we're going to the enterprise, can't we just do an ad? Can't we just run an ad with a public notice with the information in it?
Public notice, it's the same tension.
Enterprise is happy to run your ads.
Yeah.
Why not?
All right, well, let's start with that. let's work on publicizing the program, and then, maybe we can recess in 6 months. I don't know if we put on the saying that update.
Yeah, we were trying to test for the pipes, water, wasn't it? And take it away from us, but.
I never saw the final design of what Amazon.
I can share, yeah, now that we know one section of it, it's 2 separate.
And then the section is actually, because I was trying to picture which section we were doing, whether it was the front end or the back end, that it's actually a middle piece, correct? You're not going all the way to the.
That's the section.
Next year will be. Oh, so we get one side of it. Why was I thinking?
Because everybody thought the Ampersand Ave was all the way to Broadway, but, from Hope to Broadway. So we widened.
Hope to Broadway.
Hope Broadway.
I'm trying out fast with laptop, but this sidewalk is not getting. As of right now.
So I think it was a misconception. That's even here clarified at one point. I just want to be sure. Hope John one. Or required.
Yeah.
The same.
So it'd be nice to see those final plans, just so. Whatever was decided, because I know we had the option, we had discussion on the options. But, see what the final plan was.
No, I can definitely share this.
So there you go. Second.
Early days, but they haven't been seen the problems or status or.
Yeah.
So far, no surprises.
Yeah.
Or, somebody has a good case.
Yeah, but, the gentleman from Lost was able to come, so that's great, unless there's something else that you guys.
No, I would add the housing task force meeting that we had scheduled a month ago, fell on the same day, as well, the chamber and there and some like service, so it's also really nice and so, given the problem of that.
And that's fine, I mean, my concern is we keep saying as a board that we've added to the housing units, though. Able to get to that yet, so I just want to make sure that we, that everything is on track and that we are not creating roadblocks. It sounds like they needed a new project manager and they're back on track, so that's great.
Emergency services facility update.
So my concern on the emergency services facility is not, we're gonna get the report from Rob for the next meeting. But as far as if we were looking at a loan situation or a bonding situation, what finance options are excluded from the tax cap? Because aren't some of those excluded from the tax cap, so we're not.
Debt ceiling.
Well, when you calculate the tax cap, you leave out debt services and such. I don't remember what kinds of debt services are removed. So you can actually go over the 2% because you're, you know, it's a complicated formula. You know it more.
Are you referring to?
I'm just thinking of the formula in general. Are any of the fund, it would be nice to know which funding options are excluded from the cap. Because that would be a tax impact if we now have, we can add 5% because that's excluded. So I don't know. But it was just, that's what I was wondering.
Current community development projects and grants.
Yeah, I don't see Katrina here. Basically, that was on the, because I heard a lot of grants that are in the works. One of them being the CFA for River Park, and then a couple other CFAs and a couple other grants. It would be nice to see what is currently in the works. We have a lot of unfinished projects that we've already agreed upon, so it would just be nice to see which ones we've requested funding for and maybe which ones we need to look for grants for. Because there are some new grants that are out, like the New York first one. So what projects could we use that for and not be there?
Okay, well, maybe I can throw the training.
And it can be an email, just saying, here's the grants and here's the projects they support and here's the holes.
Okay, yeah, that's it. All right. I'm gonna open the secretary vote time. Hi.
Good. My name is Kathy Recchia, and I'm a resident of the village of Saranac Lake. And I want to thank Trustee White for bringing up the resolution for safeguarding our residents. And please keep bringing it back. And I wanted to follow up with the mayor on a promise that you made as kind of a counter to that resolution. I heard you say that you promise no hooded men will come into our community. First of all, do you extend that to masked men? And
So-
how do you intend to keep that promise?
So, you know what, Mr. Akins? That's probably a short-sighted promise. I don't know what max, what goods, what anything, but we haven't seen any so far, and I know there are police. So I can't promise you.
So I hope when Trustee White brings this resolution back, you'll think again about voting the right way on it then,
So,
since
Mr.
you
Akins,
can't
I
make promises
appreciate
like
your
that.
position, and I hope you appreciate it. You know what, I'm from a background where there is order, even if you don't like the order, you still have to follow it.
And the Constitution.
Yeah, you're entirely right, you're entirely right, and I cannot, with conscience, in which laws. If there are laws that we don't like, we have to change those laws. We make change, we can't just.
But when ICE comes into the community unlawfully, I thought that this resolution would have helped our police stand their ground with the law.
I believe our police department, from my conversation with the chief, regardless of who it is that is breaking the law, they can address those issues. So if somebody is, regardless of whether they're wearing a mask or harassing people or whatever, if they are breaking the law, our police.
But you still felt the need for the resolution.
Absolutely, because there are people who are not breaking the law who are having issues.
Mr. Baker, can I give you a copy of this? I had.
Yes.
It's chief's letter, and you know what, it might be just missing.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
All right.
Just to follow up, I appreciate Ms. Recchia's comments. Just to, the obvious here, reading Chief Perotta's letter, there's nothing inconsistent with Bill 88. The only difference is that the chief's letter came from the police side of the equation. The bill that was before you this evening came from the community side. Now, community policing is a collaboration. It is a cooperation. And you can't have one without the other. You have to see both sides. Now, it's no secret that we live in an age of heightened anxiety. To deny that is crazy. You have to see both sides. And I would urge this bill to come back. In fact, I would urge Trustee Ryan and Trustee White to work together, because there is nothing, that was derogatory about the police force. In fact, my reading of the resolution was that it was supporting and it was upholding the tradition of community policing in this community. Now, we've got to bridge this difference. And this is a board that just 6 months ago moved the village police department outside the village limits. You just got to point that out. And in a community where people are fearful of what's going on, thousands of miles away, and how it's going to affect us, we have to consider that end of the equation too. We have got to, this community lives and dies on hospitality. We have got to project the idea that we are hospitable, that we are welcoming, and that our police department, are protective of this community. And I urge you, because you are the interface between the community and the police force, to keep both sides of that equation in mind. And I urge you to bring it back up to the next meeting and the next meeting and the next meeting if possible, and work together to, establish that, shout it from the rooftop. You can have both the chief's letter and the bill. They're not mutually exclusive. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark.
Ms. Goshen.
Gosh. Been sitting too long.
Yeah, pretty good.
Not to be here to speak on the resolution. I've had house projects the last 2 weeks, so I missed your resolution. Would like a copy of it.
Absolutely. It's in the packet.
I'd also like a copy of the letter, please, if that's possible. And I hope that we can discuss this again. And as far as the fire channel, I'm okay with the fire channel, but not in that location. It's just too big a structure in that small park. To me, a park in the middle of a town should be beautiful. There's just another straight structure there, which does not add much beauty at all, unless you climb it, and then you can see perhaps the mountains and all. But I really urge you to consider other places for that fire channel. Thank you. Oh.
All right, at this time, could I please, motion to adjourn? Roll call.
Yes.
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 Michelle?
Yes.